Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of what if Deku became a Quirkless hero agent? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. No, I don't think you can be hero without a quirk. Izuku's world felt destroyed. He didn't even hear what else the man had to say before he left. His chest caving in as air suddenly couldn't make its way into his lungs. All this time he had hoped and trained to be a hero just to have what was left of his flames put out. Years of being told by every person he knew that he was useless and nothing. The only ones that gave him any hope was his mom and best friend. Walking up to the edge of the roof, he looked down. If he jumped, then he wouldn't have to deal with the pain of being weak anymore. But he couldn't do that. Kaken would miss him, and so would his mom. Gripping the railing as hard as he could, he tried to get his bearings. I'm better than this. I will show him I can be a hero. As he let go of the railing, Izuku noticed an explosion in the distance. A villain attacks? He needed to go see. Making his way to the fighting, he noticed heroes and police making a barrier stopping anyone from going past. We can't get to the hostage. We need to wait till a hero with a suitable quirk arrives. Hopefully the kid can hold on. Izuku recognized the hero as Death Arms. The other heroes were all ones he recognized as well. Peering past them, he saw the slime villain from earlier. No, I must have knocked the bottle out of All Might's pants. Suddenly a pair of red eyes appeared through the slim and flames. Quilt hit Izuku in waves. If he had just let All Might do his job, then this would never have happened. The only person that ever had his back growing up was now in danger, and it was all his fault. Izuku's legs moved on their own. Pushing past the barrier, he could hear the heroes calling out to him. No. I have to save him. I have to save Kaken. Flashback. I am sorry, but your son doesn't have a quirk. Izuku dropped his All Might toy. His mother looking down at her son with tears in her eyes. Her poor baby just had his little heart ripped out. You see, quirkless people are less developed. An easy way to see this is in their pinky toe. You see, he has an extra joint that the rest of us do not have. Other ways are his organs being born with an appendix, gallbladder, and even wisdom teeth. Inko was in shock still. The rest of the way home she just thought to herself. Her son was unusually quiet. He was normally such a ray of sunshine. Walking into the house, Izuku quietly went to his room, dragging his toy and cape behind him. Hey Inko! What quirk did Aiza get? Hisashi walked out from the kitchen with a bowl of rice in his hands. Inko shook her head. He is quirkless. The following fight that ensued between the two was loud and drawn out. Hisashi just couldn't accept that his son was quirkless. Inko couldn't believe what she was hearing. Worthless. Broken. Dead weight. Just some of the things said about her baby boy. How could her own husband say things like this? If you won't get rid of him, then I am gone. Hisashi walked out of the apartment, slamming the door on his way out. Inko just hoped that he would calm down. Opening the door to her baby's room, she saw him absorbed into an All Might video. Tears streaming down his face. Mom. Looking into his big green eyes, she couldn't help but feel her own vision blurring. Can I still be a hero? He looked down from her gaze, broken and lost. Something no 4-year-old should ever have to feel. Running, she wrapped her arms around Izuku. I am so sorry, Izuku. I will do whatever I can do to help you be a hero. Fast forward 3 years. Come on, Deku. We got to get you training. Kaken ran ahead of him just enough to keep him going. If he hadn't have came out of nowhere to help him, those other kids would have really hurt him. Unfortunately, he is late now. His mom had him learning all sorts of martial arts ever since he was diagnosed. She also helped him develop his intelligence and analytical abilities. I'm sorry, Kaken. After stopping at the park, Kaken turned to look at Izuku. No, none of that, you nerd. If we are going to both be heroes together, then we need to get stronger. Izuku smiled at his friend. Right. They had fought each other several times. Kaken had such a good quirk and is a natural in combat. Even at 8 years old, Izuku isn't as natural in combat as Bakugo, but has gotten pretty good in hand-to-hand. He also seems to be able to see what someone is going to do before they do it. Kaken, I have an idea. Bakugo looked at him and grinned. I think I want to start practicing with knives. I've been looking at throwing knives and combat knives. That would be awesome. You could use that and give yourself an edge in combat. Kaken's words gave Izuku a massive smile. They were going to be heroes together no matter what. Present day. Kaken. Izuku ran out. Looking at the slime villain, it seemed as if everything slowed down. All things have a weakness. First physical weakness, his eyes. Throwing his bag up, it hit the villain in the eyes. You brat. Pulling out a throwing knife with a finger hole on the end. Spinning the blade and throwing it at the villain. As he rallied from the initial attack, the blade found its way into his right eye. The attack gave him an opening. Grabbing Kaken, he pulled. The force was enough to break him free of that monster. Bakugo landed on Izuku as they fell backwards. What are you doing, Deku? He couldn't believe it was Izuku that saved him. All these shitty heroes just watched, and his Quirkless best friend shows these losers up. Grinning as he stood up, he noticed Izuku had 2 knives in his hand. Okay nerd, how do I beat this a-hole? A feral grin stretched over Izuku's face. The excitement of a good fight was something he shouldn't enjoy. Looking over the slime villain, he noticed that his slime near the fire was starting to boil. That's it. Nitroglycerin is explosive at 218 degrees Celsius. Kaken. We need to add extreme heat. Boil him. Right. Let's do this a-hole. Both Izuku and Kaken ran forward at the enemy. The slime arms reached out in both directions. Bakugo using his explosions to defend as he made his way closer. Izuku jumped and dodged, barely missing the slime. As he got closer, he slid to a stop just below the monster. Throwing the blade, he made sure the hilt his other eye. Got him. Kaken now. Bakugo slid behind him, sending dozens of explosions until he started boiling. The villain screamed in agony. Izuku ran up and pulled Bakugo with him, making their way to the heroes again. Backdraft sent water flying at the slime villain as he fell unconscious. Did it, Kaken? Both of the boys were out of breath and tired. Hitting Izuku on the back. Good job, thing nerd. Izuku laughed. Good job yourself, Kaken. Your explosions have gotten stronger. How's your elbows? As much as Bakugo played the strong card, he couldn't hide the pain in his arms from firing so many explosions from Izuku. Looking down at his friend's trembling arms, he could see the pain he was in. Don't worry. I'll be better with a day of rest, Deku. Suddenly they were both being pulled to the paramedics. Heroes surrounding them. Both Death Arms and Mount Lady were praising them at first. Death Arms was looking at Bakugo. DMN Explosion was a powerful quirk kid. You have good hero potential. Looking over at Izuku, who really didn't need any medical attention. What about you, kid? What's your quirk? Must be an intelligence or agility quirk, I take it. Or maybe a perception quirk. The dread of telling them his status kicked in. Actually, I'm Quirkless. Izuku's voice was barely above a whisper. Mount Lady looked down at the boy with disgust in her eyes. Really? Then that was reckless. You should leave saving people to your betters. Death Arms nodded in agreement to the blonde. Izuku's vision blurred. Feeling his hands ball into fists, he pushed past them and ran off. Why did people just see his status? It wasn't them that saved him. No, it was the Quirkless reject that saved Kaken. Running home, he didn't realize he was being followed. The tunnel vision blocked his senses and he needed to be anywhere but there. Bakugo watched as Izuku's eyes filled with tears. How could she say that to him? Izuku ran away from them. You. He tried to get him to stop, but Izuku didn't hear him. What is wrong with you all? The heroes looked at the explosive boy in confusion. He saved me while you idiots were standing there waiting for someone else to come and help. If it were up to your assholes, I would have been killed. Instead, a Quirkless child stepped in and saved me. Detective Tsukachi walked up as the blonde boy finished lecturing these heroes. He is right. They all turned to the detective. Now Katsuki Bakugo. I am Detective Naomasa Tsukachi. May I ask you some questions? Izuku rounded to his apartment complex. He was walking now. Seeing how he was away from the heroes, he felt much better. A gunshot rang out, breaking him from his thoughts. Pulling out a knife, he turned to see the bullet hole be his feet. "I reckon you'd be wondering why I'm here?" Izuku stared in shock and awe for a moment. "Oh my god! It's Snipe!" The man was still in his hero getup. Though with his mask, Izuku couldn't decide whether or not the man was angered or not. "You're the Western hero, Snipe. You have amazing quirk called homing. You are a skilled hero and have a tendency to work alone." Pulling out his notebook, he bowed to the man in front of him. "Please, sign my notebook." Snipe took the booklet from the Viridian boy standing in front of him. Looking at the page he was given, he saw that it was an analysis on him. Snipe, Torunar, quirk, homing. Snipe is able to see and lock onto any target he can see within 600 yards. How accurate are his shots? Can he hit any part of the body at will? His pistols are modified 6-shooter revolvers. They look like 9mm bullets, but unsure. They also seem powered down compared to an average police-issued sidearm. To fight Snipe, best way is to fight past his suspected limit or get in close to take him out quickly. From there he noticed that it had a breakdown of his costume. Everything from his mask to his gas grenades. This runt is incredible. Signing the page, he moved on to other pages. Most noticeably a breakdown of his partners. Midnight, Cementos, and most impressive Eraserhead. He handed the book back to the kid, who in turn he was bowing and babbling on about family treasure. "Okay kid, I'm going to shoot straight with ya. What you did was reckless." The kid's shoulders sagged, and he seemed to lose the life in his eyes. "Though I reckon you plannin' to be a hero, right?" Izuku heard the question but couldn't help but look at the man in front of him in shock. Yes sir. I want to be the first Quirkless hero." Snipe smiled under his mask to the boy's enthusiasm. "Good, let me be honest kid. You are gonna have it rough. Ain't an easy job even with a quirk. You will face challenges I ain't ever had to worry about." Izuku looked down and thought back to his conversation with All Might. He had been told no and that he should look at something more realistic. Yet here was a hero not questioning him at all. Snipe is just listing things that will make it harder. "I know." Snipe looked into Izuku's eyes. There was a fire in them. "I have been called worthless, broken, defective, and told that I should just die. I want to prove to everyone I'm not worthless. Except it's not just that. I want to help and save people, to give people like me hope." Snipe closed the book and handed it back to him. "But I see that this is book 14 of a set. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. I want you to meet me at a warehouse. Here is the address. I want you to bring all your books." Izuku was confused. Why does he want me to meet him there? Looking down at the address in awe. "Yes, Snipe, sir." Turning without a word, the gun-wielding hero left. Izuku looked at the man's back as he walked away. His thoughts were interrupted by his phone ringing. Answering the call, his ears were blown out. "Hey, you shitty nerd. You left me with all those shitty heroes, and I had to tell them how dumb they were being. Where the F are you?" Izuku rubbed the back of his head. "Oh hey Kaken, I'm sorry I got a little overwhelmed." Bakugo was quiet for a moment on the other side of the line. "Yo Deku, you know those guys were idiots. You will be a hero. Don't listen to dumbasses like that, okay?" Izuku felt tears running down his face. "Don't worry Kaken. I won't. I will be a hero no matter what." He could actually feel the grin on the other side of that phone. "Hey, I got to get home, okay Kaken? Are you still coming over tomorrow?" "Yeah, you idiot. I'll be there at 4. Bakugo hung up the phone and Izuku ran the rest of the way home. Opening the door to his apartment, he was bombarded by his mother. She grabbed him in a massive hug and squeezed so hard he couldn't breathe. "Oh my God, my baby boy. I was so worried. I saw the news and you were so strong and saved Katsuki, but you should be more careful." "I'm sorry, Mom." Izuku started matching his mother's tears. "I couldn't watch him dash." Suddenly his words were stuck in his throat. Inko noticed the fear in his eyes. "Hey, let's go sit down and eat and we can go from there, okay?" Izuku nodded in response. After eating, he went to his room and laid back on his bed. "I can't believe Snipe wants to meet me." Izuku thought back to their conversation. He already had his notebooks gathered. "I will be a hero. Closing his eyes, he let the darkness of sleep take his mind. Waking up the next morning, he was still in his uniform. Oh no! I am going to be late. Izuku jumped out of bed. Getting changed, he put on jeans and a simple All Might hoodie on. Though unlike before, the sweatshirt felt heavy on his chest. All Might's smile felt like a weight on his chest. Grabbing his notebooks and throwing them into his bag, he ran out the door. Bye, Mom. I'll be back. He made good time and actually managed to beat Snipe to the warehouse. Pulling out one of his knives, he started playing with it nervously. Mornin' Midoriya. Izuku looked over to see Snipe standing with a hobo of a man. Wait, how did you know my name? Snipe just chuckled. It was on your notebook, kid. Izuku felt his face heat up as he started shuffling his feet. Oh, that's right, he started chuckling. The other man spoke first. So this is the brat you were telling me about? Snipe smiled at the man next to him. Kid's got guts. Looking closely at the man, it hit him. Oh my god. You're the underground hero Eraserhead. Izuku bowed at 90 degrees. It's an honor to meet you, sir. Aizawa was floored. He couldn't believe some teenager knew who he was. Mr. Eraserhead, sir? Aizawa shook his head. How do you know who I am? Izuku started waving his hands in shock. Oh, I'm sorry. I just am a huge fan. You have such a cool quirk, and you fight Quirkless. Aizawa hid a grin in his capture weapon. Smiling, Snipe looked at his soon-to-be pupil. Hey kiddo, can I see those notebooks? Izuku nodded, handing them all over to the hero. Pulling number 14 out, he handed it to Aizawa. The underground hero looking through it till he found his own entry. Seeing his strength and weaknesses laid out so successfully was troubling. I've gotten careless apparently. Izuku shook his head adamantly. No, sir. I had to really look to find anything about you. Aizawa looked at the kid with curiosity. I had to look up 15-second videos and forums. I was able to make a base for an analysis. From there I learned more as time went on. Aizawa gave him a smile. Looks like Snipe was right. Izuku was suddenly extremely confused. Snipe spoke before he could ask any questions. I told ya. Might as well tell the kid why we are here. Aizawa huffed and leaned back against the wall. K Littler Shooter. I want to make ya my apprentice. Show you to here will help me develop your skills in hand-to-hand and parkour. Why you want to train me? Izuku wiped the tears away from his eyes. But they were coming too fast now. These heroes want him to be a hero. Of course, kiddo. You showed skill yesterday even without proper training. Your analysis is pro level, and you seem to be a natural at deconstructing a threat. So here is the deal. Starting tomorrow we will start strength and agility training. During the time we are going to be working on your knife skills and hand-to-hand combat. When you graduate from there, then I will teach you how to shoot. We will decide what kind of pistol you will use from there. Izuku looked at the man in awe. I know guns are something of a weird thing to learn, but they will serve you well. Aizawa interrupted. Hey brat. These blueprints and designs. Have you made any of them? Izuku looked back down at his feet. No sir. We don't have a lot of money and many of the components are hard to get my hands on. Snipe, we should put him with Power Loader 2 days a week as well. Snipe nodded in agreement. Sounds good. I'll include him in our emails then. I want to keep the boy from Nedzu as long as possible. Izuku was getting lost now. Go home. We will meet tomorrow same time and start your training, okay? With that, Izuku left and headed home. He needed to tell Kaken everything. This could be what evens the playing field. Izuku walked in to seeing Kaken sitting on the couch waiting for him. Hey Kaken. Running, he grabbed the other boy and dragged him into his room and slammed the door. Bakugo fell backwards, landing next to his bed. Damn it, nerd. Rubbing the back of his head, he looked back up at his green friend. What is your deal, Deku? Turning to face Bakugo, a smile crept across his face. Kaken. I met 2 heroes. Bakugo shook his head. Of course you did. We both did, remember. Izuku shook his head and sat down in front of his friend. His eyes were filling with water. No. After that, I ran home and was stopped by the hero Snipe. He said I could be a hero, Kaken. Bakugo's eyes went wide. He introduced me to the hero Eraserhead. They want to help me prepare for the exams. Suddenly the realization hit him. Deku could for sure be a hero. Out of everyone that he knew, Izuku was the most heroic and selfless person he knew. Bakugo didn't know a more deserving person than Deku. And it nerd. I told you we would both be heroes. Bakugo jumped up and plopped himself down next to his friend and wrapped his arm around him. Now stop crying, you idiot. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I'm so excited. Izuku wiped his tears off his face and gave his friend a smile. Bakugo shook his head. If you're going to impress any of the boys in the hero course, you need to quit crying all the time. Bakugo could tell that Izuku was acting weird. Years of being friends made it completely obvious. There was something that the nerd wasn't telling him. Unfortunately, with Izuku you can't push for information. He will just avoid the topic. As much as he wanted to force his friend to tell him, he understood that sometimes it was best to wait. I can see that, nerd. So does that mean he is going to give you a gun? Oh, I never thought of that. Suddenly Izuku was an anxious mess. He is going to learn how to use a gun. Could he use one and be a hero? Well, that was a dumb question because Snipe obviously is and probably a ton of other heroes. Could he actually shoot someone? I mean, he uses knives, so it can't be too different, right? What if he ends up killing someone? Bakugo could practically see the loading symbol above Deku's head. Hey nerd, I lost you. He knocked on his head. Izuku flushed red in embarrassment. Sorry. Tilting his head, a little looking at his friend. I think he will. Do you think I would even be able to shoot someone? Isn't a gun too much? Smiling, Bakugo couldn't help but shake his head. Does it matter? I am literally a walking bomb. If someone had me or your mom unconscious and dying, would you shoot them to save us? Izuku could feel guilt in his chest for a moment. Yeah, I would. His voice was emotionless, but Bakugo knew it would take time for him to feel comfortable with it. So, let's play some games and talk about something other than hero stuff. Bakugo turned on the TV and they continued hanging out and relaxing. Izuku seemed to have a tension that hadn't been there before. He knew having to save him when heroes wouldn't have to be hard, but this was just weird. After hours of playing, they went down and had dinner with Auntie Inko. Walking in, she wrapped her arms around Bakugo. She hadn't been here when he had first come over. Seeing how he was here so often, he had a spare key of his own. Oh Katsuki, I am so glad you're okay. Separating from the blonde boy, she looked into his red eyes. You and Aizu are such a good team. Bakugo smiled at his auntie. He knew they would be. Izuku was his brother. Looking over at him, he was anxiously setting the table. Probably overthinking his future training. The rest of the night went like normal. Izuku woke up and stretched. Looking around the room, Kaken was sleeping on the floor near his bed. Looking at the time, he had about an hour and a half when he needed to meet up with Snipe and Aizawa. Bakugo woke up and turned to look at his green friend. Izuku was looking at some hero forums on his phone, panicking. Aizu, get your butt out of bed. You have some training to do. Izuku let out a heavy sigh and rolled over, jumping out of bed. I feel bad. I'm going to be training with heroes while you train by yourself. Shaking his head, Bakugo sat up. Listen, Deku. I have no issues training by myself. I have been trained how to fight, and unlike you, I don't get kicked out of classes for being quirkless. Izuku chuckled before getting his joggers and hoodie on. Okay, I get it. I better get going then. Jumping up, Izuku ran out and Bakugo just huffed and rolled over, going right back to sleep. Walking up to the warehouse, the door was already opened. Looking inside this time, he didn't realize how big it actually was. There was a gun range, hand-to-hand training ground, obstacle course, and a giant jungle gym thing that looked way too fun. Hey, little shooter. Izuku jumped and waved in surprise. Snipe looked over the nervous boy. He was so timid and seemed so different from the boy he saw fight that slime villain. Come with me, kid. Izuku followed his new mentor over to the padded ring in the facility. Eraser was sleeping in a yellow sleeping bag next to it. Oh my god. Are we going to spar? Izuku was nervous but also excited. In school he avoided fighting because he would get blamed for it. Outside of the school, though, he had been in plenty of fights, and something about fighting made his blood pump. Alrighty, kiddo. First you and I will spar. This will give my partner here a good look at your style to build on. Jumping in the ring opposite of Snipe, Izuku dropped into a fighting stance. Eraser stood up and stepped next to the ring too. Seeing the confidence suddenly radiating from the curly-haired kid made him grin under his capture weapon. Begin! Snipe moved first, using his size to try and push Izuku off balance. Only the boy spun, putting an elbow into the back of the older man's knee. Snipe dropped, using his other leg to kick out. Izuku blocked, using his speed to throw several punches at the man who was now face him. Snipe batted away the hits, giving a good punch to Izuku's chest. The force knocked him backwards. Rolling backwards and back to his feet, Izuku took a deep breath. Everything seemed to slow down again. Examining Snipe's stance, he noticed some things. He seemed to stick to a kickboxing style of combat with a tad of judo. That meant his knees are a good weak point to keep exploiting. Because of his style, he is rather stationary. Low rotations and straightforward kicks. Moving forward, Izuku went straight in for the attack. Snipe threw a strong kick forward at the boy. Only when his kick was about to land, Izuku dropped. Sliding under, he hit the back of the gun-wielding hero in the back of his knee again with incredible force. Snipe fell to his knees and tried to rebound. Izuku, though, was on top of him already. Izuku attempted to get Snipe into a chokehold, only to have Snipe to break the hold and flipping the boy over him with incredible force, knocking the wind out of him. Izuku tapped out as he attempted to catch his breath. I thought I had him. Izuku stood up again with the help of Snipe. I know you were holding back, but while that was fun. Realizing he sounded too eager, Izuku started waving his arms. Not that I super enjoy fighting or anything. Laughing, Snipe put his hand on Izuku's shoulder. Good job, partner. You got good senses, and not to mention your agility and speed are extremely high. Suddenly Izuku was kicking his feet around and feeling super flushed. Thanks, sir. I have some training and my friend Kaken helps me a lot. Eraser had joined the conversation now and was looking at what felt like a different child. This Kaken being the one from the slime incident? Izuku just nodded nervously. So, this Kaken is a close friend? Aizawa looked down at the green-haired boy. Yeah, he is. He is my only friend actually. Izuku looked down at his feet in a way that Eraser could tell the boy had a lot of unresolved issues still. Aizawa let out a sigh. Okay, Midoriya, I see you seem to use a sort of hybrid style in hand-to-hand. I assume you've had some training then? Izuku looked at the long-haired hobo in front of him. Why, sir? I have basic training in Aikido, Karate, and Judo. My training in Kung Fu and Silat are a bit more advanced, but only just sensei. I hope he isn't disappointed with me. A grin appeared over his face. Good. You have strong foundation and a natural combat sense. Walking around the ring, he looked down at Midoriya as he thought back to his fight with Snipe. It seemed Midoriya in an instant changed. He held his own for a minute, then he became more precise. Looking over at Snipe, he wondered if the other hero saw it too. Snipe, did you notice it while you were fighting? Snipe made eye contact with Erasure Hero and nodded. Yup. The boy fought well. Then he seemed to know exactly what I'd been doing. Izuku was confused now. Why did that matter? All he did was look at the man's body language. Kiddo, you sure you ain't got a quirk? Izuku's looked wide-eyed at the hero in shock for a moment before shaking his head. No, sir. I am quirkless. Izuku thought for a moment. I just looked at his body language. Everyone has something different to watch for. Aizawa smiled at this. This meant the boy even smarter than he seemed. When Nedza meets this child, he will have a field day. Snipe knew where this was headed to, so he interrupted. Izuku, I'm bettin' you've been told that you're less evolved than normal people? Izuku nodded at Snipe-sensei. You see, in some instances they'd be right. Except that humans evolved in other ways. Their bodies grew to adapt to the quirks. Izuku understood where he was going with this but wasn't sure what the point was. He had no quirk for his body to adapt to. For instance, because of my quirk, the training I have developed increased my hand-eye coordination for throwing weapons and shootin'. Snipe pulled a knife so fast Izuku barely saw the movement. Next thing he noticed was the sound of it hitting a target at the other end of the warehouse. Oh my god! That was so cool! So, he can use it with all projectiles. That's so amazing. Nodding, Aizawa nodded. Same with me. Because of my quirk, the training I did increase my agility and speed so I can take enemies down before my quirk deactivates. It would seem because of your analysis skills your brain adapted and changed how you see the world. Izuku let the information sink in. His mind did seem to make things slow down when he broke down a quirk or fighting style. Could I maybe do something similar with other aspect of my body? Looking down at his body, he looked back up at the two heroes. Do you think I can improve my body like I did with my analysis? A Cheshire smile formed on Aizawa's face that was only matched by Snipe's toothy smile. Stepping up to Izuku, Snipe knelt down and looked him in his green eyes. Kid, we are going to push your body so it's ready for the exam. Izuku smiled back at the two men. Stepping away from Izuku, Snipe went and grabbed some knives. Alright pup. You got knives on ya? Izuku smiled and flipped a knife in between his fingers. Good, come with me. Following his sensei, the three of them made their way to a small group of targets. Izuku couldn't help but feel excited. He absolutely loved throwing knives. Something about it calmed his mind. Pulling out 4 knives, Snipe threw them all within a few seconds of each other. Without his quirk, he managed to hit the target's dead center. Izuku though was going nuts. Oh Snipe, did you use your quirk? If you did, that would mean you could hit your target perfect every time. Aizawa couldn't help but roll his eyes a bit. Though it isn't like he can show the fanboy his quirk here. Snipe just grinned. Nah kid. That was without my quirk. I had to be able to fight without it, you know? If I use my quirk I can hit whatever target I'm shooting at, but it hits them randomly. Izuku thought about that for a minute. So that's why you use powered down pistols? That way you lower the risk of casualties. Though your casualty rate is way lower than many other heroes. Especially if we consider endeavors. Continuing to ramble about the stigma on gun heroes versus other heroes even if they are safer than many quirks, Snipe finally decided to stop the conversation. Kid, throw some knives. You get 4 to throw. Right now we are focusing on accuracy. Izuku nodded, pulling out a second knife in his left hand. Facing the targets, he threw his first knife hitting the ring just outside the center. The second knife managed to hit the third of 4 rings. Pulling out his other throwing knives, he managed to hit next to his first knife and the target's center pretty easily. Grinning, Snipe looked at Aizu. Good. Now I want you to hit moving targets. Hitting a button, all the targets started moving at different speeds and angles. You will do this until you manage to hit a target in one of the center rings. Grabbing some of the knives that were in front of him, Izuku began this part of his training. Knife after knife kept missing. DMN. This is way harder. When I attacked the slime villain, I thought I was way better than this. While he continued training, the two heroes went over his day-to-day training schedule. They decided that Saturdays would be his rest days. Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday he would be doing combat training. Starting with hand-to-hand, moving to melee training, and the throwing knives firearm training. Tuesdays and Friday will be his training with power loader. Sunday will be parkour and agility training. Snipe looked over the schedule. I reckon we got a pretty good schedule for him, Aizawa had to agree. If we stick to this schedule and routines, then he should be more than ready for the entrance exam. Looking back over at their new apprentice, he had managed to hit several targets now. The speed at which he adapts to situations is uncanny. The fact that he is quirkless just makes him even more impressive. If they can help his body adapt the way his mind has, then he would almost be superhuman even without a quirk. Flashback. Arriving to the scene of a massive explosion, Toru can see a young boy behind held by a slime villain. His blonde hair and red eyes shining from the slim that engulfed them. As the villain tried again and again to take control of his body, the kid would send out incredibly powerful explosions that shook the entire area. That's when something caught his eye. A boy standing at the edge of the barrier with a look of terror and regret. Before he could go approach him, however, he took off. Kaken! Flying past the line of police and heroes, he ran directly at the monster holding who he can assume is the boy's friend. Watching the fight was something else. Everything around the boys seemed to freeze as they engaged the decently powerful villain. Standing at the end of the civilians, a blonde-haired skinny man who looked fairly familiar was holding his chest. Turning back to the boys, he saw the green one yell out orders and smile at his friend. The way they worked together was incredible, though the skill gap between them was apparent. Explosion Boy was by far more skilled in combat than his savior, though the kid was smart. He looked at the enemy for a second, devised a way to defeat him in seconds, then used his friend's quirk to put him down. It was incredible. Walking over to the EMT station, he listened to the conversation between him and the heroes that had come. Death Arms and the new Mount Lady. Actually, I'm Quirkless. Snipe had barely heard what this kid had said, but he was baffled. A kid that had been Quirkless showed up so many of the heroes and police that had been on standby, barely registering what Mount Lady had said to this kid. The boy ran away, tears streaming down his face. DMN idiots. This kid could be something special. Chasing after him, the hero made sure to keep his distance just so that way when he calmed down, he may speak with him. Following him all the way to a residential area, he finally decided to stop him. Present day. Aizawa. Midoriya has too much potential. We need to make sure he becomes a hero. They both looked at the kid in wonder, as now he seemed to be hitting the targets with ease. Hey kiddo, come on over here. Izuku threw his last knife and made his way over. All right, partner. Here's your schedule. We will start every morning with strength training and go from there. I want you here at 4 a.m. for your strength training, and then you will go to school. After that, I want you to meet us here again for combat training. Interrupting Aizawa took their attention. Also, we need to speak to your mother about this arrangement. Izuku nodded in response. Yes, sirs. I will talk to her right away tonight. Making their way to a jungle gym, Aizawa taught him the basics of parkour. Mainly how to increase his jumps and falling properly before taking his leave. Walking into his front door, he was absolutely exhausted. Seeing Kaken was still there made him happy. Hey Kaken. Falling on the couch next to him, he let out a loud sigh. Who knew real training would be so tiring? Laughing, Bakugo hit Izuku in the shoulder. Deku. It's about time you get if serious. Yelping in pain, Izuku rubbed his shoulder. Stupid nerd. At least now we know you will make it into UA for sure. Izuku smiled at his friend. I know. It doesn't seem real yet. Looking down at his overworked body, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Not one but two heroes taking the time to train me. Inko walked into the room. Oh sweetie. I didn't know you were home. I'll start on dinner now. Wait, Mom. Inko stopped and looked at her son. So I kind of met some heroes. They started training me and gave me a schedule and everything. Looking at her son in disbelief for a moment. Oh my god, Aizu, that's amazing. Trying to hide his excitement, Izuku rubbed the back of his head. Well, they want to meet you and stuff, if that's okay? Suddenly his body was shaking in worry. He couldn't help but think she might say no if she knew how much they would push him. Of course, honey. Bring them by tomorrow for dinner if they can, okay? Izuku smiled and couldn't help but nodded enthusiastically, right? Walking through school after his first day of strength training was rough. Izuku hadn't felt this much muscle aching ever in his life. Walking into class, Izuku saw everyone glaring at him. Shaking his head, he walked over to his desk, trying to ignore the whispers around him as he made his way there. Things like, they should just expel him. He is so worthless. I can't believe someone as powerful and cool as Bakugo hangs out with someone so useless. Sitting down, Izuku looked down at his lap. He could beat over half these kids in a fight. That's with his exhaustion and them using quirks. It would only take a second to show them. No, I can't think that way. I will show all of them that I am strong the right way. Movement pulled him from his thoughts. Hey nerd. Looking around, Kaken saw everyone staring at him. What the F are you all looking at, huh? Everyone went back to ignoring him again, thankfully. Thanks, Kaken. Bakugo smirked, throwing his feet up on his desk as he sat down. You know you could kill most these punks even if they helped each other. They don't effing matter. Izuku couldn't help but smile at his friend. Day of Slime Villain Attack. So now to prepare for your future, we are having a career fair today. The teacher smiled. Ah, who am I kidding, you all are aiming for the hero course. Everyone cheered as the teacher threw the papers into the air, showing off their quirks and acting like they were all important. Please teach. Don't include me or Deku in with these pukes. Bakugo stood up, putting his foot on top of the desk. We both aced the UA pre-tests, and we are the only ones here that have any chance at passing the entrance exam. Izuku couldn't help but sink into his seat at being brought up in his friend's speech. Oh yeah, that's right, you both put in for UA. I can see for you, but Midoriya. Everyone busts out laughing at him. Like, someone like you could get into that school with Bakugo. There were so many more comments like that. Leaving the class, Izuku made his way to the lunchroom. The teacher, though, had kept Kaken behind for some reason. Hey Deku. Chills ran down his spine. Turning to see Fingers, Wings, and Electro. Oh hey guys. Fingers had a grin on his face. I think we should put your defective butt in his place. The other two surrounded him. Wings locked his arms and flew up a bit so he couldn't run. Fingers wrapped his hands around his neck. While that was happening, Electro zapped at his ribs. Pain shooting through him. Izuku let a yell in pain. Wings dropped him and laughed as he laid on 2 kicks to Izuku's chest. You think we are done yet, freak? Unfortunately for them, something snapped. Instincts kicked in. As Wings went to kick him again, Izuku rolled, dodging the kick. Spinning, he tripped Electro. Jumping up, Fingers reached out. Everything slowed down as his mind went into overdrive. Fingers. Quirk is finger extension. His fingers are more durable and have enhanced strength. Get in close and incapacitate him quickly so he can't grab you. Fingers reached out with his right hand. As he was about to grab hold, Izuku disappeared. Spinning, he moved around his arm to his open side, kicking the boy in the stomach at full force, knocking him down. Wings moved to punch him, only to have Izuku grapple to his right arm, pulling him down to the ground. With a quick knee to the back of the head, he was down. Electro stood there in shock. Looking into Izuku's eyes, he saw a fire in them. They reminded him of Bakugo's. As he was about to attack, the red-eyed boy appeared, grabbing Electro by his shoulder and smashing him into the wall. UF's messing with Deku while I'm with a teacher. UF cowards. Setting off an explosion on the boy and knocking him out. Walking over, he handed Izuku's bag to him. Sorry I was late. Looks like you had it under control though. Grabbing his bag, he couldn't help but rub his neck with his free hand. Thanks, Kaken. Yeah, they don't fight all that well. Before they could finish going to lunch, their teacher just happened to walk out. What is going on here? Walking over, he grabbed Izuku by his shoulder. Care to explain, Quirkless? Izuku's heart was racing. The teacher didn't seem to care that they attacked him, or the fact he was able to beat them in a fight. Shut up, idiot. Bakugo interrupted the older man. You honestly think Quirkless kid beat up 3 of his bullies? If so, you're dumber than I thought you were. Demon it, Bakugo. Fine, you have detention tonight after school. After he finished giving Bakugo his punishment, both the boys finally made their way to the lunchroom. Izuku pulled out his own lunch he brought from home. He had learned real early to not get lunch from the staff. The amount of time he was fed unknown chemicals was astounding. Sitting next to his explosive friend, Izuku couldn't help but think of the events with his bullies. Hey Kaken, why did you take the blame for me? It's not like I haven't been blamed for stupid things before. Bakugo didn't even bring his eyes up from his food. Just set his hot sauce down next to his bowl. 'Cause nerd, if he knew you had beat the sheet out of those losers, then you would have gotten days of detention or you would have been expelled. They won't do anything to tarnish my chance at the hero course. Izuku smiled and looked down at his food. Thank you, Kaken. Present day. Izuku had already proven that he can fight. Since that day, all of their fellow students have ignored him for the most part. At least they won't try to physically assault him. Though the words and comments were just as bad at times. It wasn't often Izuku would let the insults and taunts get to him. Though every once in a while he just couldn't help it. Laying his chin on his desk, he tried to listen to Kaken, but every insult just dug deeper. The first half of the day went by without much thought. Izuku focused on his own work. Occasionally he would talk to Bakugo about the work, or he would talk about his training so far. No, today he needed to keep a low profile. He even avoided making eye contact with any of his classmates that were not Kaken. Sitting on the roof for lunch, both boys just relaxed. Izuku was excited to leave school and go to training. Plus, both of his sensei were going to be coming over for dinner to speak with his mom. I wonder they want to talk to her about. I mean, he already told her about the intensive training. The poor green-haired boy couldn't help but worry. His mother had a habit of over-worrying about his well-being. After school, Izuku went to the warehouse to train. After stretching, Aizawa pulled him over to an empty training area. Okay, we are going to focus on mobility in a fight. You have some incredible skill in reading your opponent, but that doesn't mean anything if they can take you out in a single punch. Everything that the Erasure hero told him, Izuku ate it up like it was what was life itself. It's like he never had those negative thoughts. The man kept talking about how being a stationary fighter was okay if you could take the hits. Unfortunately for Izuku though, he didn't have durability to take hits on directly. He may be strong physically, but compared to someone that had a strength quirk or an enhancement quirk, he would be at a disadvantage. Now there are two types of mobility fighters. One is evasion and diversion. They utilize gymnastics and parkour so that way they can wait till the right moment to attack. Next there is the redirect and attack. They use their enemy's strengths against them. Block, dodge and hit. I will help you become a hybrid of these. Izuku's blood was pumping. He imagined what his fighting style would be. Different ideas of support equipment popped into his head. Sensei, I'm ready. Aizawa shook his head as they begun training. Aizawa had Izuku doing box jumps, parrying and blocking exercises. Izuku was being pushed farther than he ever had in hand-to-hand combat before. Aizawa looked frustrated, grabbing Izuku's arm and putting him into an arm hold. Come on. You have several different martial practices under your belt. Starting again for the 100th time it felt like. Izuku, instead of jumping into the fight right away, stood back. Aizawa jumped forward, sending a kick at the young boy. Moving just an inch to the side, he avoided the hit. Aizawa swung around, punching out only to have Izuku using his elbow to redirect the hero's fist into a different direction. Izuku had a smile this time. Aizawa could feel the confidence coming off of the boy. Going into the momentum of the counter, Izuku swung his leg out, dropping down as if he was going to do a push-up. Jumping up, he had seen several points he could take the advantage now. That wasn't the point of this exercise though. He needed to show his sensei that he is more. He can adapt and change in a fight. He can be redirect, block, and evade. Finally, after a few minutes, Izuku ended up on his back. His lungs burned, but in a good way. His sensei was skilled in hand-to-hand, better than any of his previous instructors. Granted, they all thought they would be incorporating a quirk eventually. Out of all the time he had spent training, this is the first time not one, but two people were training him with the knowledge of him being quirkless. Snipe interrupted now. Good job, shooter. Now you are going to be coming with me, kid. Time to push your skills with weapons. Izuku smiled. Jumping up, Izuku ran over to the weapon station. First, let's see how you do in close combat with a knife. Standing on one side of the ring, Izuku had two practice knives. The one in his right was standard grip. It would be a good offensive hold, while his left was in reversed grip, that he would use as his defensive weapon. Snipe had one knife. It was a Bowie knife style versus Izuku's combat knives. Snipe and Izuku moved quickly. Izuku struck first. Swinging his practice blade met Snipe's. Jumping, he tried to take the advantage, only for Snipe to flip his knife and redirect his attack and leaving his weak point open. Thinking back to his fight with Aizawa, most of the time his sensei had moved at the last minute using his agility to his advantage. Rolling into the parry, Izuku spun out of the way, barely dodging the attack. Swinging his foot at the same time, he kicked Snipe's knife out of his hand. Thinking he had him, he moved forward with his knife. Snipe moved to his reversed gripped hand. The failed attack by Izuku leaving him open just enough for Snipe to pull out another knife, hitting the side of his chest. DMN. He got me. Snipe pulled away with a snide grin on his face. You ain't too bad, kid. No wonder you did so well against the slime villain. Izuku couldn't help but blush at the praise. It wasn't too often that he got compliments from teachers. You are pretty skilled with knives for close range. They will be a good balance for when you start using guns. Snipe stopped and looked lost in thought for a moment. I think we should find another close-quarter weapon for you though. That was a good point Izuku had not thought of. He was skilled with knives. Hopefully soon guns, but if he wanted to be a quirkless hero he'd need to be extremely well-rounded. Heroes tended to rely on their quirks too much. Most people did actually. If he wanted to compete against villains, then he needed to outmatch any opponent. I wonder how I'll match up by the entrance exam? The rest of training went on to improve his knife-throwing abilities and endurance in combat. By the time they were done his body hurt so bad. He knew it'd be good for him, but he couldn't help but feel like he might be pushing a little too hard. After showering and getting changed he made his way to the front of the warehouse to see both his instructors standing there waiting for him. "Alright youngin. Aizawa is gonna be driving so we are going straight to your place, okay kiddo?" Nerves hit him again like a ton of bricks. "Alright. Okay, let's go." Both Aizawa and Snipe felt the tension appear in their young pupil. Aizawa put his hand on Izuku's shoulder. "Don't worry, brat. It will be fine, I'm sure." The drive home was actually pretty tame. Izuku talked a lot about different quirks and heroes that they pertained to. Aizawa hid his grin at this. Knowing how smart Izuku was and now just listening to him speak baffled him. This boy could have slipped thought the cracks and the world would have lost a great hero. Snipe was actually more engaged in the conversation. He encouraged the rambling sprints that Izuku tended to fall into. They both knew Netsu would be a help with his assessments of quirks and strategy, but that needed to happen closer to UA or even once he is enrolled. Though his train of thought was broken by the arrival to the Midoriya residence. After leading both of his teachers, Izuku opened the door. "Mom, I'm home." Both men were greeted by a short, slightly overweight woman. She smiled from ear to ear and had the same green hair of young Midoriya. Both men bowed and Snipe looked up at the women. "Hello, Ms. Midoriya. I am Toru Nara. You may call me Snipe if you would like." Aizawa spoke once he was standing upright again. "I am Shoto Aizawa, Izuku's other instructor. You wouldn't know my hero name." Inko smiled at both men. "Thank you for helping my son. Just call me Inko, please." Inko bowed to both men before leading them to the kitchen. "I figured we could eat while discuss Izuku's further tutelage." Everyone sat down at the table. Izuku and Inko on one side, while his teachers were sitting on the opposite side of the table. Everyone ate their katsudan before actually speaking. Snipe decided that he would start the talks first. "Now Inko, I'm sure you got lots of concerns regarding your youngin'?" Nodding, Inko looked over at her boy who seemed to be shriveling inside himself a bit. "I worry about his safety a lot. He will make a great hero, but so many even with powerful quirks lost their lives every day." Making eye contact with Inko, Aizawa had a fire in his eyes that only Izuku seemed to pick up on. "If I may. Your son is more capable than many of the second and third years we train day in and day out. I would even be hard-pressed to find a hero outside maybe All Might that wouldn't struggle with your son currently in a fight." Snapping back, his mother actually raised her voice. "Don't mix my worry with contempt, Mr. Aizawa." Izuku's heart started raising. "I know how smart and capable my son is. I also understand if he were to be something other than a hero, his analysis would be a danger to almost every hero in them." Recomposing herself, she let out a heavy breath. "Izuku is all I have. If he is to be trained by you, then I want him to adapt to any situation he can." Aizawa's expression softened at her words. Probably feeling bad about how he had mistaken her worry for Midoriya's quirklessness. There are several ways to get the young shooter into shape. Snipe thankfully broke any remaining tension. Izuku has skills in hand-to-hand and knife combat. From what we've been able to tell, his knife skills are self-taught. Though his hand-to-hand is professionally taught. Why didn't you keep him studying his martial prowess? Tears formed in Inko's eyes. Izuku decided to take over for a bit. "They taught me until they found out I was quirkless. It's a touchy subject for Mom. We can't afford to take any of them to court for quirk discrimination or anything. Not like that would help." Izuku choked on his words for a second. "The school only keeps me because they have to." Both his teachers furrowed their brows. Snipe hadn't realized how bad being quirkless was. "You said, Not like it would help? Inko nodded to his sensei. Because he is quirkless, his status isn't protected by the law. That goes for any quirk law actually. Izuku chuckled. That includes the laws on vigilantism. All three adults turned and glared at Izuku. He started waving his arms fanatically. Then, I never went out and took down criminals or anything. I only looked it up to make sure the heroes from the slime villain attack wouldn't be able to get me in trouble. There was relief in his mom that made his shoulders relax. Speakin' of trainin'. Snipe folded his fingers and leaned into the table. I would like to teach Izuku how to use firearms. Holding up his hands to stop the protest from his mom. I was going to wait a few weeks, but with him trainin' with power loader in support equipment, I think it is necessary. Inko grabbed her son's hand and squeezed. Why does it have to be guns though? Snipe smiled at her. For one, your son is very dexterous. He could incorporate it into close and long-ranged combat. Second, a pistol is the best way for him to even the playing field against extremely powerful forces. All Might is strong, but he gets shot, he would go down just like any other person. Thirdly, Izuku has dozens of designs for gadgets, costumes, and weapons. If he spends time with PL, then he could design a personalized gun or ammunition to make an extremely lethal or non-lethal option. As if on cue, Izuku's brain went into overdrive. Snipe Sensei was right. It didn't need to be a traditional gun. He could make it do whatever he wanted. Mom, I could definitely do that. Inko smiled at her son and agreed. Snipe chuckled. Good, I should be able to get him through the licensing to carry at all times. That will include in school. I want him to be used to it before he gets into UA. Later, after finishing with all of the finer details, everyone went home. Izuku couldn't be happier, right? Now lying in bed, he decided he better get to work. Jumping up, he started writing different types of ammunition. He also started searching different options for firearm designs. If he was going to make this his signature weapon, then Izuku was going to go all out. I will be the biggest gun-wielding hero ever. The next day after class, Izuku made his way to the front gate. Seeing Snipe Sensei standing there waiting for him. Hey kiddo. We are going somewhere special today. The excitement inside Izuku's chest almost made him miss the fact nobody seemed to recognize Snipe. Now that he thought about it, there were absolutely no pictures of him outside his costume. Only reason Izuku even knew his name was because he had hacked the Hero Commission database. Hey Deku. Who's the geezer? Bakugo walked up and stood right behind Izuku. Kaken, this is SN Toru Sensei. Izuku loved his friend, but sometimes he was a little too forward and protective. Kaken was the brother Izuku wished he had. Snipe just grinned. Oh, you're the Tindy boy, ain't ya? Bakugo just smirked. You better help Izuku be amazing. He is the only extra in this school that deserves to be a hero, so if he isn't up to snuff, I'll kill you. Looking over the explosive boy, don't worry about that. Midoriya will be ready. Snipe looked over the boy before turning away. Izuku said goodbye to Bakugo and followed his mentor to the train station. Izuku was not ready for the destination. Seeing the front entrance of UA made him feel so small. So many great heroes came from this school. Now he is training under some of those heroes so he can participate in the best hero school in the country. The walk to the support department went by in a flash. Izuku was so enamored by the school that he didn't realize they were already there. The doors were absolutely massive. Opening the door made way to an enormous room with workstations all around. Oh my god, this is amazing! Izuku couldn't suppress his smile even if he tried. Power Loader walked out of his office with a smile. Toru, this must be the boy you have been telling me about for the last week now. Izuku was vibrating in his clothes seeing another hero. Looking at the man in absolute awe. Oh my god! Your Power Loader! How does your quirk work? Without your support equipment, can you dig through anything? Sorry Higuri, he came like that. Snipe smirked at the man. Izuku felt like they were very close, but he didn't know how close. Maijima walked over and to Izuku. So I hear from Toru that you got a brilliant mind and some designs for me? Izuku nodded at the man. Yes, sir. I'm here. Handing the man his new notebook that he had transferred all his designs to. Seeing him look them over, Izuku couldn't understand all the emotions running across the man's face. Toru, you weren't kidding. I ain't gonna lie to ya. This kid is something. Izuku felt his face flush at the praise. Majima handed the book back to him. I am thoroughly impressed. You have several ideas that will work out quite well, I think. We will start on the things that will directly affect you first and go from there. I saw 3 designs that I assume are especially for you. Izuku looked down at his book and then back up to the man. Yes, sir. The combat bodysuit is something I have thought about for a few years now. I have a list of the materials and everything I'd need. It is a skin-tight bodysuit I'll wear under my costume. The gloves and boots connect directly into it as well. Smiling Power Loader let him finish. I saw that you want to use a hybrid carbon fiber and nylon that will have some sort of kinetic resistance? The excitement on Izuku's face was priceless. Yeah. It should stand up to most attacks. Everything from explosions to strength quirks. Wonderful. Tell me about that gun design I saw? Izuku smiled at the question. Well, I don't have a name for it yet. I based it off a pre-quirk era pistol called the Beretta APX. It was an Italian weapon. I like the style. The barrel is extended a little bit with a built-in suppressor. It is also electronically connected to my HUD. I have some ideas for different ammo types too. But rubber bullets and live ammunition will both be there still. Snipe loved the sound of the gun. It'd be a good option for the boy. He was afraid that Izuku would push back away from the weapon, but he seems to be embracing it. Tomorrow for weapon training we will start your firearm training. Izuku gave his sensei a blinding smile. My last design is a type of collapsible staff. I have some training on it already. The only thing is it isn't like most staffs. So usually, they collapse small enough to fit in your pocket. This one will stay at the size of a Eskrima stick. Pressing a button should extend it out and the ends electrify. Izuku was contemplating his weapons for a long time. He always wanted the staff in his costume design. Good, we will start there and make our way to the gun and suit. I can help you with your design for your hero costume as well. Izuku gave the man a grin, started shaking in anticipation. The thought of his dream becoming a reality wasn't such a far-fetched dream anymore. Sitting down, they started with the materials they would need. The alloys were the easy part. The hybrid suit would be tough to make but possible. From there they got all the designs transferred to the electronic system that Majima invented to make 3D models. They would be able to test functionality from there. It took all day to transfer his designs over to Majima's computer. After finishing, they saved everything in a file for Izuku. I'm excited to see what we can do with your designs. You got a lot of talent, Midoriya. Trying to hide his blush, Izuku looked away from the man. He wasn't used to getting so much praise. This all still felt so unbelievable. Thank you, sensei. Well, you ready to go home, partner? Izuku looked over to see Snipe standing at the doorway. Hey, Snipe sensei. Yeah, I'm ready. Running and grabbing his stuff, Izuku made his way out the door. Hey kid, I'ma meet ya outside, alright? Izuku smiled back at his sensei before nodding and heading out. So, what do you think of him, Higuri? Looking over at the older man. Well, he has talent, that's for sure. If we can get the staff or gun working by the exam, then he will be able to use them. He is going to be an incredible hero. I sure wish I could get him in support though. Looking back at the doorway that Izuku had walked out of Snipe's side, yeah, I got an idea for that. If we can get Nedzu on board, then we can make him a hybrid student. You see the design on the dark matter generator. Higuri just nodded in response. If you can get M to polish the details on it, I got a feeling Nedzu would ask him to design one for the school. We would be on a separate grid, so we would be okay in a crisis. I agree with you there. Get him home. I think we need to speak to Nedzu. Snipe had been dreading this conversation for a while now. It needed to be done though. Izuku was a brilliant kid, one whose mind is fragile right now. If pushed in the wrong way, he could leave his plans to be a hero behind. Or worse, become a villain. Over the next 7 months, Izuku began to really push himself. His body had changed drastically. Muscle showed through his clothes now. Instead of bulky muscle like All Might or Death Arms, his muscle was lean and dense. The training adapted his body just as Aizawa had said. Strength, speed, and agility was much higher than most people. Due to him not having a quirk, he was able to make himself more well-rounded. During that time, he made amazing strides in his inventions too. The staff he made, which was his first invention, turned out great. It was extremely durable and managed to take hits from Kaken's blasts easily. The suit was also very durable. As a bodysuit, it kept him flexible and protected against intense temperature changes. Though something he and his new friend Hatsume did though was add a kinetic dispersal ability to it. 3 months prior, walking into the support department at UA was a nice way to spend the evening. Not too long ago Maijima gave him a tablet with all the drafting and engineering apps he would need. Seeing his sensei, he grinned. They had just finished the material that was needed to actually make the suit. Seeing a strange girl there got him curious though. "Hey, Midoriya, good timing." Power Loader gestured over to the girl. "This young lady is Hatsume. She is my recommended student for UA's first year's support student." Looking up, a devilish smile took over her face. Before Izuku knew it, she was standing in front of him examining his whole body. Stopping, she grabbed him by the shoulders. "You're the one that designed that suit on Sensei's desk. How did you come up with the polycarbon fibers? I must know your secrets. What's your quirk? Are you going to be a support student or hero student? What else do you got? Tell me everything." Izuku could barely follow her high energy. I came up with it looking at pre-quirk games on super soldiers. I am Quirkless." Pausing, he looked down and continued, "I want to be both a hero support hybrid student. I am working on a pistol that will shoot multiple ammunition types. The main ammo type I has designed is a dark matter gravity shot. It should take the dark energy and pull it into a small ball that can take down most enemies without killing them. Though it is still dangerous and could kill if not shot correctly." May's eyes lit up like fireworks. "You're Quirkless. That is amazing. No limits and nothing holding you back. You can be a gadget hero. Maybe on the gun you could make it so it can change power levels to make it stronger or weaker depending on the villain you're fighting. You think I can be a hero? Just like that?" Izuku was stunned into disbelief. Someone other than his teachers, Kaken, and his mom believing in him. His vision got blurry while he stared at her. "Of course I do." Wrapping her arms around Izuku's neck. "Together we will make you an amazing hero with all the babies I can make." "What babies?" "Present day." "Hey Hats." Walking into the room, he saw that a box sitting on the table. "Oich Aizu. I figured it out." Taking him over to their makeshift target range with the box in hand. So, the secret was to keep it separate. It pulls in energy constantly. Using a mini gravity generator and wham! Taking the pistol out, he checked it over. His calculations and her building know-how have helped a lot. It was possible for him to create the pistol on his own, but that would have taken ages. May has been great help. So has Kaken when it came to the suit. That is a different story for later though. May hadn't been kidding. The gun had 2 types of fire. Primary was what Izuku decided to call sonic rounds. Secondary was whatever he put into the pistol. Each clip was different. They developed shock rounds and incendiary rounds. Combine all 3 of those plus his rubber bullets and .45 caliber bullets, then he was covered for almost anything. "You ready, May?" Turning, he saw her earplugs were already in, and so were her safety goggles. Smiling, he put his safety gear on as well. Aiming at the targets, he took fire. The sonic rounds were on low, so they hit like a heavy punch to each target. Increasing it to full power, he fired at the farthest target. The shot hit the target and smashed through the wall on the other side. Looking wide-eyed at the hole in the wall, he knew that PL was going to be said. May, I think we went to heavy on this." Running up, May hugged him from behind. "Not even. You never know what you're going up against. Some villains are almost as tough as All Might, so you need every advantage you can get." "Yeah, I guess you're right, but still." Before Izuku could finish, Power Loader walked in and was indeed said. "Izuku, Hatsume, what did you do to my shop?" "Sorry, PL. But Aizu needed to see the full potential for his arsenal." May ran back over to her workstation and went right back to work. Shaking his head, he looked at Izuku, who was smiling at the pistol in front of him. Good job, kid. You going to take it to training tomorrow? Izuku looked up at the man curiously. I can't, it just got done, so it's not approved yet. Smiling Power Loader handed him a sheet of paper with 2 approval reviews. One showed the pistol with all the attachments and ammo types. The other was the bodysuit and display goggles. You already got them approved. Thank you. Jumping over, he hugged the Majima. Can I leave my standard issue pistol here for safekeeping? Power Loader agreed to keeping the pistol. The one he had designed was 100 times better than the standard anyway. Putting the suit in its lock case and holstering his new pistol, Izuku walked out. Getting home as soon as possible, he was greeted by Kaken and his mom, who were both watching TV. Look. Izuku put his case on the counter and put in the combination. Bakugo walked over, opening the case to see the suit inside. Damn it, nerd. You FNG did it. Pulling out his tablet, he pulled up another design with different measurements. I know you wanted to go with the whole tank top grenadier look, but I made one for you to combine with your suit. Bakugo looked at his friend before taking the tablet and looking it over. It was similar in design, except his heated up to help him produce more sweat. It has small holes on the lower sleeves so that way it can help fill your gauntlets, and because it can disperse kinetic energy, I tailored it to your quirk so your body should be able to last longer in engagements and rescue ops. Kaken smiled. Thanks, Deku. I can't wait to see how well it works. Izuku chuckled and looked at his phone. He had texts from both Aizawa and Snipe. They both agreed to let him train with his gear. With 3 months left till the exam, he needed all the time he could get. With how fit he is now, nobody messed with him anymore, so he was able to get in and out of school on time. So, Kaken, how is training? Did you try flying? What about the move I suggested? Izuku was looking at his friend wide-eyed. Calm down, idiot. Yes, I did. Both worked just like you thought it would. Well, it was just a theory. It will be super cool when you're number 1 and can fly to the scene. Izuku put his hands on Bakugo's shoulders and shook him back and forth. Damn it. Stop, nerd, and who says I'll be number 1? You could to ya no, nerd. Rubbing the back of his head nervously, Izuku shrunk a bit. Doubt anyone would vote for a quirkless hero to number 1. Bakugo smacked the back of his head. Enough, Aizu. You will be a great hero and prove all those FING extras wrong, got it? Izuku smiled and nodded at his friend. The next day, Izuku made his way to the UA. Snipe told him to meet them at one of the training grounds. Izuku changed into his bodysuit. It was skin-tight and wrapped comfortably around each muscle. Over that he wore a green zip-up hoodie with combat pants and boots. Alright, kiddo. Inside are some targets set up. Remember what I taught ya. You will start on the building next to the main building. Shoot straight, kid. Snipe walked off, letting Izuku relax before the start. Flashback 6 months ago. Now today I am going to teach you how to use a gun. Snipe went over the basic safety and cleaning of a firearm. Walking up to the stand, he turned to Izuku. I want your earplugs in and safety glasses on at all times, got it, kiddo? Nodding, Izuku immediately put his on and waited for Snipe to start. Pulling up the pistol, Snipe started firing. He didn't have his quirk active, so he was able to hit each target dead center. After firing the full 15-round clip, he emptied the pistol and put the safety on. Now I want you to start. You will use 2 clips fully. Switching places, Izuku loaded the weapon. Raising it, he fired. The first shot made him jump but didn't feel terrible. Aiming again, he fired and kept firing until it was emptied. Smiling, he loaded the second clip, feeling the rhythm and power behind the shots. Finishing, he dropped the clip from the gun, put the safety on, and set down the firearm. Feeling the adrenaline drop out of his system, he turned to see his sensei smiling at him. Looking at the grouping, he had managed to hit almost center every shot. Way better than he thought he would have done. Good job, youngin'. Seems you're a natural. Snipe ruffled his hair while he wasn't paying attention, making him blush. Now let's get in some practice before we go for the day. Present day. Hearing the go horn, Izuku launched himself into movement. Running full speed, he jumped from one building to the next. Drawing his new pistol and locking it into sonic mode. Moving towards the door he braced his rear leg as he kicked in the door. Dropping, he fired at the two targets he saw. In between them was a picture of a businesswoman. Moving down to the top of 3 floors, he quietly moved through the emergency door. Izuku cleared each room looking for any enemies that may be in the building, finally making it to the last room on the floor. Looking through the window, he saw 18 cutouts. Tossing in a flash grenade, he moved. Firing 9 shots individually, he hit all the enemy targets. Checking the hostages, he moved out to the 2nd floor and repeated the same motions. Reaching the ground floor, he wasn't ready for the 2 robots smashing through the door. They were standing on a single tire with 2 extended arms. The first one swung before he could take aim in this close quarters. Using his arms, he redirected the attack into that wall. The suit doing a great job at dispersing the impact. Pulling the pistol close to his chest, he fired 2 medium-powered shots to the chest, dropping it in a heap of scrap. The second made an attempt to charge, but Izuku was faster. His new gun had 5 settings of strength. It seemed 3 was overkill, so he dropped it to 2 and fired. 3 shots racked into the bot, destroying it instantly. Smiling, he walked by and exited out of the building. The suit and pistol both surpassed his expectations. The gun was quick and powerful but had much more control than his standard issue pistol. His suit, though, did even better. Using his arms to block didn't even register any sort of pain. Its impact completely absorbed into the suit. Aizawa and Snipe both were waiting outside of the building for him. Aizawa chuckled, 5 minutes and 23 seconds. Great job, problem child. Izuku ran up to both of his sensei. Did you see how my equipment did? The gun had plenty of power but was super easy to control with almost no recoil. My suit, though, I didn't feel the robots hit at all. He was vibrating with excitement. May I see you, weapon shooter? Snipes held his hand out. Izuku gladly handed it to him. Mulling it over, he played with the setting and checked out the fire rate. This is an impressive pistol, kiddo. Color me. Impressed. You're ready for your licensing. I'll set up a time for you Saturday, so that gives you 2 days to prepare. Smiling up at the man, he couldn't contain his excitement. Now we will need to go over usage outside of here or in emergency situations, but that will be later. Going home, Izuku laid on the couch completely exhausted. He was almost there. 3 months till the entrance exam and he was in. It didn't matter anymore that he didn't have a quirk. Instead, he was excited and confident. Smiling, he let the world fade to black. Yuku walked into the federal office that would be testing him on licensing exam for him to carry. Due to the emergence of quirks, the laws on firearms became extremely lax. If you applied, then you needed a psych evaluation. If you are under 18, then you need sign off from a parent and either need to be recommended by a hero or intern with a police department. Lucky for him, his mentor is one of the best and only gun-wielding heroes in Japan. Walking up to the table, Izuku noticed the secretary had scales going up her arms. Though they blended in quite well, her eyes did not. They resembled a gecko with yellow irises. I wonder if she has sharper eyesight than the average human. Most lizards can has 350 times higher cone vision than at a color threshold. That would mean if she could, then she would have the ability to see color in dim or even no light situations. During his train of thought, Snipe hit him to the shoulder with his own elbow. Realizing he had just mumbled all that out loud, he started blushing. Sorry, I didn't know I was speaking out loud. She just smiled at him. It's fine, dear. Thank you. Most people don't show much interest with my quirk. I can see colors in the dark. So what can I do for you boys? Leaning against the counter, Snipe waved over to Izuku. Well, you see, Missy, we are here to get young Izuku Midoriya here to get licensed for open carry of a firearm. Izuku looked at him curiously. With his mom being late, he had to wonder why he was being so forward. She pet her eyebrows and looked the short curly-haired boy over before looking back at Snipe. You are who to this nice boy? Snipe chuckled, realizing he was in his civilian gear. Well, darling, I am the pro hero Snipe and this here young man's trainer for the hero course. Pulling out his hero license, he showed her the ID. Realizing who he actually was, she suddenly got nervous. Before the conversation could continue, Inko burst through the door with Bakugo right behind her. Sorry, I'm late. Walking up to the counter where Izuku and Snipe were, she gave her and Izuku's information. The women looked at the IDs and back at the boy in front of her. Izuku's skin crawled a little from her handling his ID. Sitting at the bottom corner for quirk status was vacant. Looking up at him with sad eyes, "I'm sorry, I assumed you had a passive quirk. Are you both sure he should be given a firearm?" Izuku felt his chest cave in on itself. Bakugo heard what was said and like his quirk got a little explosive. Why would it matter if the nerd has a gun? I can literally blow up this whole FNG building, you godmed hag. Inko put her hand on Bakugo's mouth. "Sorry about Katsuki. He is a little opinionated." Grabbing the paperwork Izuku's mom signed giving him permission to get his license. Being escorted to a room for his test. Sitting down he looked over the test in front of him. It was 3 pages long. The first page was over firearm safety and maintenance. Page 2 was over laws in self-defense and general gun laws. The final page was over situational events and outcomes. Smiling he dived right in. Moving easily through the questions he finished the test in around an half hour. Turning in the test he noticed the women second-guess his time for finishing. Running through it though she could tell he had passed. "Okay, now you will go into the shooting range." Izuku nodded but didn't want to say anything to the women after her comments earlier. Walking into the range, a man in his early 30s and a top knot was standing there with a pistol in front of him. Looking over him, Izuku couldn't place a quirk with the man. With his stance and posture though, Izuku could tell he was law enforcement or military. He gave off the vibe of, "I can kill you." The man walked him through his 2 tests. The first one he had to fire the gun at 3 targets at different distances. Pretty simple and straightforward. The last one though was an CQB obstacle course. Izuku was jittery with excitement. Moving over to the firing range he put on the earplugs and safety glasses. Smiling, Izuku loaded the gun and started firing. Hitting each target with precision, he felt good when the last shot went off. Unloading the firearm and putting the safety back on, he placed the pistol on the stand and looked over at the man who was wide-eyed staring at the green boy. "Alright, now follow me to the course." Bakugo was watching on the monitor with Auntie and Snipe. The first challenge looked quite easy for his friend. Izuku looked excited even. The pages of targets were lined with electronic signals so that they could see how he did. Snipe just chuckled next to him. "Watch this TNT. Them targets aren't nothin' for the boy." The explosion boy watched with curiosity. He had never actually seen Deku shoot. He knew that he had been training like crazy to make up the difference that being quirkless. Watching Aiza fire his gun, he saw the boy hit every target and almost dead center every time. Until every bullet was fired, Katsuki didn't even realize that he had held his breath. Excitement hit the blonde boy in waves seeing how good of a shot he was. "Hell yeah. Good job, nerd." Snipe and Inko both chuckled at Katsuki's excitement. "Told ya, kid, those targets were nothin' for him." Izuku stood at the doorway to the obstacle course. It was a close-quarters combat simulation. He would need to go in and clear each room, taking out the targets inside. This was a cakewalk compared to running into a building and having to fight a couple of robots. Then the siren went off. Izuku ran through the doorway. Seeing the first 3 targets, he took his aim in the makeshift living room. One behind the couch was 2 shots to the shoulder and chest. Second one by the hallway, 3 shots, shoulder, and stomach. Last one was 2 to the chest. Grinning, the green-haired boy moved from room to room, taking out targets with an eased precision. Something he or his instructors had not accounted for was how his analytical mind could so easily transition to firearm combat. Though watching him snipe knew that it had been the same when he faced the slim villain all those months ago. Izuku's brain was highly developed. The world slowed down so he could focus. It was an unusual gift that his instructors exploited to make him excel. After clearing the last room, the world turned back into its normal time flow. Smiling, Izuku exited the training area to see a shocked Proctor and Mother. "Hey, what did you think? I could have gone faster if I knew the building, but as a hero, I will be thrown into unsuspecting situations all the time, so I guess it's okay." Wrapping the boy up in a death grip of a hug, "I'm so proud of you, Aizu. You did such a good job. I didn't know you got so good at shooting with Snipe." Separating both Midoriyas had tears in their eyes. Bakugo walked up and hit him in the shoulder. "In it, Deku. I'm gonna have to step up my game to stay ahead of your nerdy butt." Izuku couldn't help but see the smile on his friend's face though. The reality of them being heroes getting closer to view now than ever. "Yeah, won't be too long and I'll be stronger than you, Kakin. Well, it looks like you made all requirements with flying colors. Really impressive." Izuku looked at the women with a hint of concern. Especially for a Quirkless. There was. Knowing she didn't mean anything by it didn't take the sting away. Looking down at his carry license, he felt a hand on his head. Looking up, he saw Snipe smiling at him. "Good job, kid. We will make a hero out of you yet." Looking into his sensei's eyes, he saw nothing but pride. Something that he was still getting used to from his teachers. Diving into the man's arms, he couldn't help but hug him. "Thank you, Snipe sensei. I don't know how to ever repay you." Pulling away, Snipe knelt down in front of the boy. Putting his hands on his shoulders. "Just become a hero, kid, and pass the practical." Izuku nodded at the man. "I will, sensei." Determination flowed through his veins. He was going to become a hero no matter what. After dropping Kakin off, Izuku and his mother went home. Eating katsudan to celebrate. After bidding his mother good night, Izuku went to bed to see what was up with the hero net. Seeing Kamui Woods gaining popularity made him happy. The man wasn't seen as super strong, but he was a really good person. Always seemed to donate to charities and help anyone he came across. The next page though was dedicated to the number 2 hero Endeavor. Izuku wasn't the biggest fan of him. His quirk was strong, and he had one of the highest success rates of any and all active heroes. The problems that the green boy saw with the man though outweighed his skills. High collateral damage, destruction of property, and a high casualty rate. Izuku knew there was times when a hero had to decide if killing a villain or capturing him was a better option. Endeavor though had no issues killing his targets. Looking over the article, he gave him more fire for that train of thought. He seemed to have taken a group of bank robbers out. There were 16 of them in all. Endeavor destroyed the bank, killed 9 of the criminals, and severely injured the rest. It was just too much for so little payback. Now the bank needs rebuilt, and all the criminals were going to need extensive medical treatment. Sighing, Izuku was about to close his computer when he got an encrypted email. Opening it, he saw that the sender had included Snipe, Aizawa, and PL. "Hello, Izuku Midoriya. I know we have not been introduced, but I would like to finally meet. I understand that my teachers have been aiding you in your training in preparation for the UA. I know your status and that you are quite skilled in analysis. Tomorrow, instead of your usual training, I would like you and Snipe to meet me in my office. Curiously, Principal Nedzu. P.S. Please bring all of your notebooks." Izuku suddenly felt extremely nervous. Why did the principal want to see him? Was he in trouble? No, if that were the case then he wouldn't have been included in the message at all. It went to all his trainers. He doubted the Chimera would do anything like discriminate against him. Anything he has faced was never as bad as the principal. The torture that the man had went through all because he wasn't human was despicable. Izuku thought about the possibilities until sleep took hold of his mind. The next day, Izuku met Snipe at the gate of UA. Standing next to him was PL and May. Turning to face him, May's face light up. "Hey Greenie, we making more babies today?" She always has so much energy. Here Izuku thought he had a lot of energy. "Sorry May. I have to go see the principal for some reason." "Fine. But I have babies to try on you." May ran off and headed to the support studio. Izuku though followed his teachers to see Nedzu. Walking up to the giant door, Snipe was about to knock when it just opened up. Aizawa was already waiting next to the Chimera. Snipe and Izuku sat in the chairs in front of the desk while Power Loader leaned against the far wall. A smile crept across the principal's face. "Well, hello Midoriya. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. I have been quite patient. You're quite an enigma, don't you think? You are pushing so hard to be a hero. I must say it's quite inspiring. Now did you bring your notebooks?" Izuku nervously nodded, pulling out his books and handing them over to Nedzu. The mammal looked through his latest book in silence. Izuku couldn't wait for this to be over. What if he didn't like them? Maybe he should say something. It's not like it would hurt anything to talk about his analysis. Tell me, Midoriya, your latest entry is of an almost unknown hero, Silent Shadow. What can you tell me about him? Izuku smiled. Well, his quirk is super cool. It's called Power Sight. His perception is on a superhuman level. He can almost predict your attacks before you do them. It also allows him to see at extreme distances. This allows him to excel with his chosen weapon being a Yumi. He has a few different arrows he uses, though I think he could use more close-quarter weapons. Similar to Eraserhead, he relies on surprise and stealth for combat. Given that he is new and still is learning, his weakness in close combat is a glaring weakness. Nezu just grinned, listening to the boy talk about a hero with such confidence. The boy who just a minute ago had been so visibly nervous. You are quite right with your analysis. I can't believe someone as smart as you has gone through so much hardship. Izuku froze in. Place hardship? What about Izuku, did the principal know? Don't worry, that will be a discussion for another time. So firstly, I would like to tell you that I am quite excited to see you in the exam. I assume that Snipe and Aizawa told you about the support item application, yes? With a shy grin, Izuku nodded. Yes, sir. I have it filled out to use my Ultra Gun in the exam. Nezu held his paws out. Knowing he wanted to see the firearm, Izuku pulled it out and handed it to the Chimera. Looking it over, Nezu's smile got bigger. This is a beautiful piece of equipment. Are you going to use anything else? Izuku unzipped his jacket and showed his full body suit underneath. I have been trying to decide if I should use my kinetic suit. I just feel like it'd be cheating because it's like wearing a bulletproof vest. Nezu jumped onto his desk and walked over to the boy. Pulling his sleeve up, he let the principal touch the metal weave fabric. Nezu was quite shocked. It is so soft yet firm at the same time. I will tell you, it is not cheating at all. I actually think because you created it that it acts as your quirk. Going back to his seat, he rubbed the bottom of his snout, contemplating. I think I'll allow you to bring both your Ultra Pistol and your kinetic suit. I would love to see these sonic rounds in person, but I can wait for the exam. Last thing to discuss is for when you get in. Seeing I have no doubt that you will, I would like to take you on as a personnel student. Izuku looked up at Aizawa and then over at Snipe. Making eye contact with the principal again, he couldn't make out what was going through his head. Why you want me to be your personnel student? Nezu gave him a devilish smile. Yes, you have a great mind, and I would like to nurture that. In that time, I will teach you to code, how to investigate villains, and I will have you sell your analysis to heroes and help them improve. Tears filled his eyes. I accept, Nezu-sensei. The Chimera clapped his paws together. Wonderful. Now that we have finished discussing this, may I keep these here? I know they are important to you, but they are quite dangerous. I can hide them, and I will teach you how to code them. I can leave them here. Thank you. Izuku felt the wetness on his cheeks. Not only did he have 3 heroes believe in him, but he also had the principal believing in him. This was a dream come true. He was more than ready for the trials ahead of him. Over the next couple weeks, Izuku trained and prepared for the exams. He was going to do both the support and the hero practicals. Becoming a hybrid was always his plan. If he was going to be a hero, then Izuku would need his tech along with his skills and mind. Even though he was quirkless, he would show them all that he is not useless. Kaken called him Deku, even though it means useless. He always pushed Izuku. Flashback. I won't allow a quirkless freak into our family. Inko, how is he supposed to take my place in my company if he can't fight? Izuku could hear his parents fight over him, though he was confused. Why did his dad's company need him to fight? He just wants to be a hero. Why couldn't he just have a quirk? His thoughts were interrupted again. Hisashi. Izuku is our son, we have to love him. Just because he is quirkless doesn't mean he is useless. Our boy will be strong. Izuku heard the smack and his mother falling down. Fine. Then I'm gone. This is what you get for birthing a useless Deku. The following day, Izuku was at the Bakugo's home. Sitting in Kaken's room, he was quiet. What's wrong, Aizu? Bakugo hugged Izuku while the little green-haired boy burst into tears. I am quirkless Kaken. Daddy hates me now. He said I'm useless, I am a Deku. Kaken took in what was said. Stepping away from his friend. Then you better show that loser that he's wrong. I'm gonna call you Deku from now on. You will show him that Deku doesn't mean Quirkless. Smiling, Izuku nodded. Thanks, Kaken. The explosive teen grinned. Now let's go play heroes. Grabbing the green boy, they ran outside so they could play and explore the woods. Present day. Izuku couldn't help but smile. Kaken didn't know it, but that day is the reason he never gave up. He will save people no matter what. Prove his Hisashi wrong. Maybe one day they will actually talk again. His dad may have given up on him, but Izuku hadn't given up on his dad yet. After cleaning up, Izuku walked out of his room and had breakfast. His mom had made him grilled salmon and rice for breakfast before she went to work. Heating it up, Izuku sat down to eat. Only for the minute he sat down there was a knock at the door. With a huff the boy stood up and opened it to find Mei and Kaken standing there. We didn't come together. I ran into her outside. Diamond Gadget Psycho. Mei chuckled at the blonde boy's antics. Oh my god, I get a nickname. Yay. Bakugo walked past Izuku with his hands in his pockets. Hey nerd. Got any more fish? Looking at the angry boy, he noticed that Kaken was already pulling out a bottle of hot sauce from his pocket. Yeah. It's on the counter still. Mei ran in as Izuku shut the door. Jumping onto the couch, she pulled out her designs and started to come up with improvements. In her bag, Izuku assumed that her SBMSN was there. Days before, the three of them had decided to stay at the Midoriya home, that way they could all go together. After eating, they all sat in Izuku's room with their stuff strewn all over the place. Bakugo was sitting on the bed playing video games, while Izuku and Mei were making last-minute touches on their support items. So nerd, what are you going to show for the support course? Giving a blinding smile at his friend. Well, I made these boots which are actually jump jets. I figured with my parkour it would help. I can also use them kinda like how this old hero I know used his quirk to give me an edge in combat. I'm also going to show off my ultra gun and my kinetic suit. Bakugo thought for a moment. Sounds like a good plan to me. You got your support item request turned into, I take it. Looking at his blonde friend, he could tell he was worried. Years of seeing him bullied by teachers, kids, and random bystanders, if they heard his status, must not be easy for him. Up. Turned in and ready. Wrapping her arm around Izuku's shoulder, Mei gave a reassuring squeeze. Yui isn't going to know what hit him. The three friends woke up the next morning. Izuku was already gathering his things for the exams today, figuring they would be better to go together even though Katsuki was just doing the hero practical. The support being first right after the written exam and the hero being at immediately. The greenette couldn't help but feel nervous for both. Spending his entire life being told no. It felt like at some point Snipe and Aizawa would come to their senses and abandon him. No bad, Izuku. They believe in you like Kaken and Mom. Izuku shook the negative thoughts from his mind. Feeling like he wasn't worthy of their support rarely came up, but when it did he couldn't always force it back down. Moving his stuff next to his shoes so they be ready, the green boy went and jumped into the shower. Letting the hot water run down his back, allowing it to wash away the negative emotions sitting at the brim of his thoughts, nagging at him as they slowly disappeared. Every voice and sitting there in the back of his mind. Worthless, broken, defective, quirkless, reject. Then his stupid principal. I don't know why you keep causing so much trouble. Maybe you could just do everyone a favor and jump off a roof. Pray for a better quirk in the next life. Now leave. All he wanted to do was take the blame for the detention that Kaken had been given. Jumping out of the shower, he dried his hair and body. Looking at himself in the mirror. His body had changed so much. Muscles were much more defined and had gotten way bigger. I actually look strong now. I have more muscle than Kaken now. Looking back at his mess of curls, he couldn't help but think that he should do something about them. Maybe after he gets into UA. Going to the dining room table, Izuku met his two friends there for breakfast. The explosive teen covering his food in hot sauce and the hypergirl sketching out a new design. As nervous as he may be, knowing these two were going to be there made him feel a lot better than he had felt. Finishing up their food, they all got ready and made their way to the train station. Sitting in between his two friends, Izuku started ranting about possible quirks they will see. How they could improve their designs and equipment. making support items for the kids in their hero course. Bakugo just zoned out as his friend kept talking. Not like he wasn't used to Izuku's rants. Years of friendship just made him numb to the effects. Mei was just as energetic as the green-haired boy. So she was oblivious to his ramblings, though everyone else on the train were stepping away from them. Not that any of them cared much about that. Arriving at the gates made the pressure feel a lot more real. Even if it hadn't been the first time Izuku has been to the school, didn't mean that the giant gate wasn't terrifying. Walking through they were stopped by not just Snipe but Aizawa as well. "How ya feelin', partner?" Smiling at the Western hero, "Good. A little nervous but good." Snipe ruffled his hair, "Good. No doubt you'll pass, kiddo." Izuku tried hiding the blush from the heroes and his friends. Looking over at the other two, "Teeny, what you doin' here so early?" Bakugo huffed in response, "Not like it's your F&G business." Snipe chuckled, while Aizawa looked at the blonde teenager with curiosity. He had heard of this Kaken that Izuku talked about but had yet to actually meet the boy. Snipe had told him that his personality matched his quirk. Though the Erasure hero had to second-guess that. This child had been there for their quirkless teenage kid for years. If this kid passed the exam, then Shoto would make sure he becomes a great hero. Well, let's get this sheet on the road and show all these fuckers what the two future greatest heroes look like. Deku. Bakugo held out his fist, which was met by Izuku's along with a smile. Mei wrapped her arms around both of their necks. "Don't forget the genius and future CEO of Hatsum Support Co." Both boys let out a small chuckle. Looking at her, Bakugo smirked. "Well, we are going to need the best equipment for the best heroes. So, let's go F this exam up." All three made their way after bidding Snipe and Aizawa goodbye. Watching them leave, Aizawa had dreadful feeling that they were going to have an interesting year. "These kids are gonna make my life stressful this year." Hitting the tired hero on the back, Snipe laughed. "You know, I think you're right. One thing is for sure. Them idiots at the Hero Commission aren't even close to ready for our quirkless wonder." Aizawa smirked under his scarf at that one. Watching his little protege walk into the front doors, Snipe couldn't help but feel a little pride. He had been such a hurt little thing when he found him. The talent he had showed in that villain was evident, with a natural ability to fight and want to save people. Moving before his brain could catch up with his body. Flashback 3 months after the slime villain. Snipe threw his apprentice onto the ground for the 4th time today. Seeing how much he had improved was unreal. The number of skills this kid could pick up on was astonishing. Izuku's body was trembling from all the work they had put in that day. "Alrighty, kid. I think we are done for the day." Helping the greenette up, giving him a bottle of water. Snipe sat down and Izuku followed right after with a smile so bright it couldn't help but make you feel happy around the kid. "Hey kiddo. Can I ask you a question about the slime villain?" Izuku looked into his eyes like he was looking for something before he smiled again and nodded. "Yeah, what's up, sensei? How come you ran in? I know watching the heroes just stand there was tough, but why did you sprint in headfirst?" Snipe had been curious. They had spoken already about the incompetence of the heroes on the scene many times. Shuffling his feet a bit, Snipe could tell he was contemplating, Earlier that day I was attacked by the same villain." Fear gripped the older hero's heart for a second. "I was saved by All Might, but I did something stupid. I grabbed his leg and made him drop the villain." Izuku paused before looking up at his mentor again. "It tried taking over my body and I thought I was going to die. When I saw him again, I barely kept myself still. When I saw Kaken's eyes, my legs just moved on their own. I don't know how to explain it." Present. "He will be a great hero, Aizawa." The Erasure hero nodded in confirmation. It was rare for the tired underground hero to agree with others over true potential in heroes in training. Not only did Snipe find one, but that one brought an explosive teen that seemed to stand against the norms of society, pushing his quirkless brother to his limits until they could find adults that would actually help said boy. "Come on, we better meet up with the other teachers." Snipe looked back in the direction of the potential future students. Smiling, he walked off, eager to watch what his kid would be able to do in the tests. Izuku took his numbered seat, waiting for the exam to start. While sitting there, he looked around at some of the other kids that had arrived. Seeing most had some subtle quirks. A couple though he could get an idea on them. One boy was tall and seemed to have 6 arms. At the end each arm they had different limb attached. He saw eyes and ears. Watching them switch and change was fascinating. His size was interesting too. He wondered if the boy had some kind of super strength. A pink girl got his attention too. She seemed to look like an alien. He wondered what her quirk could be. The horns on top of her head was different. She was very energetic too. As his curiosity was about to take the better of him as he was looking around the room at so many kids, their proctor walked in. "Hello children, let us begin." Seeing ectoplasm in person was unbelievable. Even after training with Snipe, Eraserhead, and Power Loader, his fanboyness never seemed to be fully sated. Now you have 1 hour to complete the test. No phones and no talking. At the end of the test there is an extra credit section that you may write whichever topics you excel at. Begin. Izuku got started on his test. Looking over it first to get an idea of what he was looking at. It started with the general knowledge stuff. Things that they had covered in the past school years and things they had yet to advance to. Next part of the packet was over hero and quirk laws. English to get a sense of whether they knew it or not. Being in the hero course made learning it almost a necessity. Last page was open note format. Seemed simple enough. Izuku pushed his way through the test pretty quickly, not finding too much of it that difficult. Some of the English was rough for the green boy. Finally, after a half hour, he got to the final page. Trying to decide what he would be writing, he thought he could write about quirklessness or maybe even the loopholes it caused in hero law. Looking back up at one of the ectoplasm clones, he got the idea of doing a quick analysis. Ectoplasm. Age 41. Height 180 cm. Quirk clones. His quirk allows him to multiply himself by ejecting clones out of his mouth. These clones are an extension of his own body. Using these clones, he focuses on close-range combat, using fast flurry of kicks and punches to overwhelm his enemies. It seems he can only make 30 to 36 clones. To communicate, he may have a hive mind complex in his original body. Separately, the clones are not too powerful. Best way to take him out of a fight would be to get him before he can create his clones. If that does not happen, then keep a distance and attack with long-ranged and powerful attacks. His super move where he uses his clones to create a giant version of himself is strong but lacks speed and can't work indoors. I wonder if he could possibly use his clones to create multiple medium versions of himself to take on strong opponents if necessary? Lastly, his prosthetic for his legs are good for quick movements but bad for long-term battles. Offer suggestions. Below were several different options for new legs along with sketches for possible support equipment to help him in long-range engagements. Feeling satisfied with himself, Izuku stood up and turned in his test. Please read the last page before you go through it. Ectoplasm nodded and opened it up to see the very accurate version of his quirk and fighting style. Walking into the support studio, Izuku walked up to see Power Loader. "Hey kid, make your way over to workstation 3. I'll have 4 judges come and rate you on your equipment and designs that you are submitting." Smiling at his mentor, Izuku took his number and went to his station. As he waited for the judges, he placed his ultra gun, extendable staff, goggles for his suit, and his notebook. Looking over his latest design on his notebook, he made some last-minute changes. The jump jet boots were something he had seen in a Prey work game trailer. It was some game called Prey 2. The concept of the game got scrapped apparently, but it had given him the idea. As he finished the design, he was finally approached by the judges. The 4 judges were walked up. 2 of them he could tell worked for some sort of support companies. One was the R-rated hero Midnight. Oh my god! Will she let me ask her questions about her quirk? And oh Izuku, focus on the exam. Finally, the final judge looked to be some sort of student. Maybe a 3rd year? He was tall with silver hair and seemed to be standoff and nervous. Midnight approached first. "Well, hello, you're a little cutie. Maybe a future heartbreaker here at the school." Looking at her clipboard. "So you are showing us 4 items? Plus a design for an item that you want to build here in the support course." Yes ma'am. I wanted to show as much as I could." Izuku looked down at his stuff bashfully. "OH, going plus ultra already. Gets me all excited. Go ahead and begin, little sprout. Smiling, he reached for his main weapon. This is my personnel item. I call it the Ultra Pistol. It has several modes and features. The main option being the sonic rounds. As you can see, it is based off a pre-Quirk era pistol of Italian design called the Beretta APX. It is a bit bigger and bulkier, but it is very light and easy to handle. The main function pulls in dark matter and combines it to a gravity generator. With the combination, it creates small orbs of energy used for offense but can be adjusted. Leaning the pistol forward, showing settings, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. All 4 judges looked it over, fascinated by the weapon in front of them. One of the judges smiled. She looked back at him with stars in her eyes. Why does it have a spot for a clip? She was so curious with his weapon. It made him chuckle a bit. Well, it can use several types of ammunition. Besides my main ammo type being my ultra rounds, which go as long as the gravity generator works, I also have developed these cartridges. Currently I have shock and explosion cartridges. I have some idea for more but can't figure out the mixtures yet. Both can shoot 4 shots. One of the judge, the one who Izuku could tell had been a support hero for a while, took hold of the firearm. May we see a demonstration, please? Izuku smiled before taking the pistol back. Walking over to the testing area, he quickly and efficiently fired at 5 targets. Each one was at a different level of strength. The judges looked shocked as each shots had different effects on their targets. The first shot when hit the target and did damage like being hit with a rock. The second shot did more, which could easily break several bones with a single shot. Third shot could do heavy internal bleeding and possible death. The fourth shot through the target and sensors completely. The effect would be death of an average person, similar to a bullet. The fifth completely destroyed the target as if it were nothing. They all looked at the damage in utter shock. Suddenly 2 more targets popped up. Izuku inserted a cartridge and fired 4 electric shots into the target. The electricity surrounded and went through the target with ease. Releasing the cartridge and reloading, he fired 4 of the explosive rounds. These destroyed the target and left a small crater where it had been. Power Loader flew into the shop with rage-filled eyes. May Izuku, which one of you is destroying my shop? Sorry PL, I didn't mean to. Izuku was waving at his sensei, trying to not look embarrassed. Before Power Loader could respond, Izuku ejected the cartridge and loaded a standard clip in as a target appeared. Bring the pistol up. Izuku fired all 14 rounds into the target. All the shots hitting the chest or the head. That is amazing. I take it that this is your personnel weapon then? Izuku nodded at the older man. Okay, let's go the next one. Izuku pulled up his extendable staff. This staff is made of an experimental alloy I developed with my friend Mei Hatsum. It is lightweight and durable. The ends are electrified, giving more options. It can give a hero an advantage in close-range combat. Handing it over to his judges, he smiled and let them look at it. Midnight was quite impressed with it, even asking if he could make something similar for her, which he agreed to immediately. Moving over to the next device, he pulled out his goggles, showing them the zooming, night vision, and HUD system that connects to his vitals and weapons. How does this connect to your vitals? One of the judges asked. Izuku smiled at her. That will actually lead to my last invention. Pulling his shirt off, everyone now could easily see the long-sleeved bodysuit. This is my bodysuit. It takes kinetic energy and neutralizes it quickly. It has a limit, but I haven't found it quite yet. Midnight walked up and held her hand out. Izuku held his arm up so she could see it. This is amazing. Did Power Loader help you? Izuku shook his head. Handing them his notebook, they looked down to see a schematic for his jump jet boots. Everyone looked over them. They all seemed pleased with the effort he had put into them. Well, we all look forward to seeing what you can do in the future, Izuku Midoriya. Izuku was beaming. Leaving the support studios behind, he headed to the auditorium as fast as he could to make sure he made it on time. Kaken would be so sad if he was late for the hero practical. One test down now for the fun one. Izuku smiled as he took his seat next to his blonde brother. Took you long enough, nerd. The explosive teen gave him a smirk as they sat back and waited for the instructions to begin. Izuku and Bakugo waited for everyone else to join them. Looking around, there were a few hundred hopefuls looking to become heroes. Seeing how there was only 2 hero courses, that meant only 20 were going to make it. The greenette knew that he would be one of them. Looking over at Kaken, he saw the boy didn't care about the other potential classmates. His brother's confidence was always something to aspire to. It was something that Izuku has always tried to replicate but couldn't, no matter how much he tried. Present Mike walked in, catching everyone's attention. "Ho, little listeners." Izuku could feel himself get jittery with excitement. Bakugo noticed and put his hand on his friend's head to hold him still. "Can I get a yeah?" Izuku jumped up. "Why like?" The blonde next to him tried to sink further into his own seat as everyone was now looking over at the two of them. "At least one of you has some excitement." Stepping forward, a screen turned on behind his tall hair. "Now if I could get everyone's attention. Today we are going to be doing a mock battle exercise. During this activity we will be separating you into different battle groups. From there you will fight for points. We have 3 different enemies to fight. Bots will be pointed by difficulty from 1 to 3. Izuku was reading along as he watched the man speak. There are 4 robots. That means that you can get combat points by fighting the main robots. That doesn't make sense though. If they wanted soldiers, then that would make sense. We are hero hopefuls. The 0 pointer is for that. Some sort of resource points maybe. If so, then that would make a lot of sense. Flashback 4 months ago. Izuku moved into the burning proxy building. Looking around, he saw the dummy he was looking for in the room. Grabbing the fake man, he threw it over his shoulders and pulled it from the building, setting it next to the other 6 he had grabbed. Looking over, he called out for some medics. Snipe had decided to have Izuku do some rescue training due to Eraserhead being out for the day. Apparently, he had a tough time the night before fighting with some sort of assassin. Izuku wasn't sure how real he should make this, but might as well go all out. Plus, Ultra and all that. Using everything at his disposal, he made sure end of the injuries were covered and stabilized. "Good job, kiddo." Snipe walked up and looked over his work. "You managed to find every injury and civilian." Izuku sent the man a bright smile at the praise. "Thanks, sensei. I was worried that I might miss someone. I wonder if I should maybe add some sort of infrared imaging to the goggle design I want to make." Toru could help but chuckle at his protege. "No, you did good. Tell me on thing. What's the most important thing about being a hero?" Looking into his sensei's eyes, the green boy contemplated for a moment. "Saving people?" Ruffling his curls, Snipe nodded. "It's why we are heroes. Present day. That definitely has to be it." Izuku nodded to himself. "That has to be it." Suddenly his train of thought was interrupted. "Excuse me. I have a question. There are 4 robots listed on the pamphlet. A school of such esteem should not have such blatant mistakes." The boy was ridged. He definitely seemed to be from some sort of academy instead of a public school. "And you there?" Realizing that he was pointing at him, Izuku tried to shrink in on himself for a second. "Your muttering is a distraction to all the other students here. If you are not going to take this seriously, then you should just leave. I saw how quickly you left the written test. There is no way you could have passed in that time." Feeling his face get hot, Izuku sunk even further. Something he should have expected was his blonde brother sitting next to him though. "Shut up, glasses. You think you're so FNG important. Deku here could kick your butt. Though he won't have to because I will do it myself." Bakugo was standing and Izuku immediately pulled him back down to his seat. Now listeners. It's fine. The 4th robot is a 0 pointer, so don't worry about it." The boy nodded and sat back down. Izuku was super grateful for his friend but also super embarrassing sometimes. For all he knew, they were going to be in the same class. Maybe even a future friend. "Now go gather anything you need for the exam and a gym uniform so you can meet at your exam gates." Izuku and Bakugo went and got into the gym clothes that UA supplied for them. Though once they stepped out, he realized he was the only one with support gear. Underneath his uniform, you could clearly see the long sleeves of his bodysuit. On his right hip was his ultra pistol. On his chest above his heart was the H's for his knife he was allowed to bring. Initially he hadn't planned on bringing the combat knife, But he knew knives were going to be some of his best weapons, so he changed his mind. Stepping off the bus with some of the other kids, Izuku walked up to the gate and looked around. Before he could register everyone there, though, someone had already noticed him. "I see you have nothing against breaking rules and being a distraction." Glasses Boy walked up to him, chopping his arm at him as he spoke. "Weapons are not allowed for participants. It's also disgraceful when you should be relying on your quirk just like everyone else." At first Izuku was nervous and trying to get out of the way, until the boy mentioned he should rely on his quirk like all the other applicants. "Are you kidding? Do you know my quirk?" Glasses looked shocked at first and went to reply before Izuku cut him off again. "No. You have no idea. I filled out the proper paperwork to have this equipment. I designed and built everything here except this knife. Next time don't make assumptions." With that, the curly-haired boy shoulder-checked him and walked off. Trying to calm down his anger was interrupted by Present Mike. "All right. I hope you are all ready for the start of the practical." The gate started opening, and before anyone could say anything, Izuku sprinted straight into the faux city. Izuku didn't even realize how far ahead of the rest of the students until a wall broke open with a one-pointer appearing. Sliding to a stop, Izuku drew his pistol and fired 3 shots into the machine. The first one and second damaged the robot, and the third one downed it. Smiling, he increased the power up to a 3. Turning to face a group of robots, he started firing. The power level ended up being exactly what he needed. Moving forward as he shot, he hit the 2 pointers standing directly in front of him. A 1 pointer went to hit him. Using his suit, he threw his arms up and blocked and spun. 1 fluid motion fired 4 shots, downing the 1 pointer, a 2 pointer, and 2 3-pointers. Feeling the adrenaline fill his chest, he moved to the roof of one of the buildings. Using his parkour skills he had learned from Aizawa, he moved building to building, firing down on different robots. Landing on another 3-story building, he looked down to see a boy with a lightning bolt in his hair surrounded by several robots. Jumping down, his brain slowed things down. Seeing 3 2-pointers, 1 3-pointers, and 4 1-pointers. Drawing his knife, he simultaneously fired at the 2 of the machines standing directly in front of the blonde boy. Landing on a 3-pointer, he stabbed the knife into the eye of a 3-pointer. Rolling off the fallen machine, he fired a shot at the other 3-pointer. Turning around, he fired at each of the other machines. Standing, he quickly checked around and saw there were no other robots currently near them. Facing the blonde, he held his hand out to help him up. "Hey, are you okay?" "Yeah, dude, that was so awesome. You're a total badass." Smiling, the boy looked at his weapons. "How did you bring them into the exam?" Looking down at his gun and back at the boy, he felt his face flush at the compliments. "Oh, I made them, so I was able to fill out a form to bring them in. I'm licensed to carry a gun." So they had no objections. Startled by an explosion in the distance, "Oh, I got to go. Be careful, okay?" Izuku ran off again. Moving from street to street, he managed to take on several more bots. By his estimation, he was at around 50 points. 2 more robots appeared and fired missiles in his direction. Dropping down, he slid to a stop behind some debris, letting his body suit take most of the shock from the explosions. Quickly taking aim, he increased the pistol to power level 4. Firing the shot, it was big enough to destroy both robots. Lowering it again, he grinned at the charred pieces of metal. "Maybe Kaken is rubbing off on me a little." Everything around him began to shake as giant machines appeared from the ground around the city. Izuku moved quickly and scaled up a building to assess the damage. He couldn't help but be glad the other kids were running away. This was crazy even by UA standards. "I may need to speak to Nedzu about this." His train of thought was interrupted by a scream. Looking around to figure out where it was coming from. After a few seconds, he saw her. She had brown hair in a bob cut. Jumping from the building, he grabbed a hold of a light post and used his momentum to launch himself to her. He could tell she was startled from him landing in front of her. "Hey, it's okay, I'm here." Izuku knew he couldn't pull the debris off of him. "What's your quirk?" She looked up into his green eyes and blushed. "I can erase gravity, but I'm at exhaustion." Izuku nodded and pulled his pistol back out, dropping the power to 2. Cover your eyes. She complied and he shot the rock in a half-circle around her. Pulling out his knife, he broke her out. Though wing gravity girl over his shoulders, he took her away from the giant killer robot. Dropping her near a building. We can't outrun it like this. Wait here. As she reached for him, but he was already jumping up the side of the building. Running, he leapt from the building, landing on the upper arm of the robot. Climbing up the side of the monster, he got to the head of the machine. At the base of the neck, he looked for some sort of weakness. There wasn't any option for an off switch or anything like that. Wait, there's hydraulics in the neck. Upping his pistol to 5 for max strength, shooting twice at the base down towards the chest. Not expecting how powerful his gun was, the following explosion sent him flying through the air, smashing into the top of a building. Lucky for Izuku, his bodysuit protected him nicely, though he could feel bruising on his ribs and back. Before he could stand up, though, Present Mike called for the end of the exam. Standing up, the green boy made his climb back down the girl he had just saved. Oh God, that was amazing. You must have some kind of super cool physical enhancement quirk or something. My name is Achiko Uraraka, by the way. She gave him a giant smile. Izuku looked at her stunned for a moment before smiling back. I'm Izuku Midoriya. So, your quirk is anti-gravity. How does it work? Do you need to touch the item? Is there a size limit? How do you cancel it? What happens if you go past her limit? Realizing he was overwhelming her, Izuku jumped back in embarrassment. Sorry, I just find quirks fascinating. It's okay. Hey, who is that? She pointed at a short older lady walking to them. Izuku recognized her. She is Recovery Girl. Her quirk is amazing. She can heal anyone by using their own body's energy to heal almost any wounds. The little women smiled. Why, you are a very perceptive young boy, aren't you? Blushing, Izuku scratched the back of his head bashfully. I'm sorry. I'm kind of fan is all. She just chuckled at him before giving the Uraraka a kiss on the cheek. Wow, I feel so much better. Whoa, I'm suddenly super sleepy. Recovery Girl smiled. Yup, I healed your leg completely. You are going to be really tired, so get plenty of rest. Looking back up, she made eye contact with Izuku. Are you hurt? Giving her a massive smile. Just some bruising on my back and rib, I think. Nothing too serious. I had this to protect me. Holding his arm out to her so she could examine the sleeve to the bodysuit he had on. Oh, you must be Snipe's boy. Izuku's face heated up instantly, being called Snipe's kid. As cool as it would be to have him as a dad, he had a dad. Hey! Izuku and Uraraka looked over to see the lightning boy running up to them. I didn't think I'd find my rescuer again. Giving Izuku a blinding smile. Oh hey! Izuku smiled back shyly. I'm glad you're okay. Did the rest of the exam go okay for you? Nodding, the boy's head moved so fast that Izuku was sure he would give himself a headache. Yes, sir. So much better. Uraraka leaned on the green boy for some stability. He saved you, huh? Seems to be the thing he likes to do. Izuku wished he could hide from these two. He knew they were just grateful, but still it was a bit overwhelming. What did he save you from? Uraraka smiled at the lightning boy. Just some robots. I got myself surrounded and he appeared like some sort of guardian angel. He did the same for me. I got trapped and he came out of nowhere. Pulled me out of some rubble and then destroyed a zero-pointer. It was so freaking cool. She was no longer leaning on him and instead was punching the air. Lightning boy chuckled. I'm Denki Kaminari. My quirk is electrification. Uraraka chimed in right away. Achiko Uraraka. My quirk is zero gravity. Looking between them, Izuku realized they were both staring at him now. Well, it's not like he expected this to last all that long. Getting appreciated by someone his own age that isn't Kaken felt really nice. Letting out a deep breath, he looked down at his feet as they shuffled back and forth. Am Izuku Midoriya. Pausing, suddenly finding it hard to breathe. Barely above a whisper, he finally spoke. Quirkless. Not wanting to make eye contact with either one of them, he shut his eyes, waiting for the reject to hit. Only it didn't come. Opening his eyes, he looked up to see not to see the look of disgust but wonder in these two strangers. Uraraka gave a small smile. You're quirkless? That is incredible. Jumping in front of him. Looking into her eyes, he didn't see any sign of disdain. No disgust whatsoever. You really think so? Looking over at an oddly quiet Kaminari. He shook the shock from his face. Dude, you're a total badass. You are so cool. The blonde's fist was balled up and he was looking so intensely into his eyes. Izuku couldn't hold it back. The floodgates opened and he covered his eyes, trying to hide the tears in his eyes. Hey, are you okay? Uraraka put her hand on his shoulder, trying to comfort him. YIJ just aren't used to K-Kids being so nice to Emi. Kaminari and Uraraka looked at each other. Sorry. Izuku shook the feelings off. So, can I maybe have your guys' numbers? Smiling, they all exchanged numbers and chatted about heroes and school before they were heading out of the faux city. Saying their goodbyes, Izuku went to the front of the school and waited for Kaken to arrive from his test. Looking down at his phone, he couldn't help but feel a warmth in his chest. He knew he scored at least 63 points, so he had to have passed. I wonder if I was right about the points for being heroic? Hey nerd. How did you do? Turning to see the red eyes of his best friend, he couldn't help but smile. Kaken, I met new friends. They don't care if I'm quirkless. Uraraka has a super cool quirk called zero gravity and Kaminari has electrification. Bakugo smirked at his friend's rambling. Though he had to admit, Izuku meeting some kids their age picked a weight of his chest. DMN, Deku. Focus. How did you do on the DMN exam? Oh, sorry Kaken. Izuku waved his hands at his friend. I did good, I think. I got at least 63 points and if possibly more if right about points for being heroic. Bakugo chuckled. Well, I can't wait to see which one of us will have the number 1 score. Held out his fist. Right? Yue, here we come. Bakugo hit his fist against his brother's. They were going to be the best heroes in Japan no matter what. Both Snipe and Aizawa made their way to the control room for the exam. Walking in, they were met by the other hero teachers from UA. Shoyuta sat next to Midnight with a seat left on the other side for present Mike, who was currently preparing the hero potentials for their practical. Cementos, Ectoplasm, and 13 were sitting behind them in the second row. Snipe took his seat next to Higuri, who couldn't help but lean his leg into Toru's. Even after years of being together, the shorter man still could turn the Western hero into a blubbering idiot at times. Not many people outside of the student body knew of their marriage. They were always supportive though, especially because the two men tended to keep public shows of affection out of the office. Though they were tighter-lipped about their relationship now that All Might was a teacher here. Speaking before they had arrived, they were curious as to why he was allowed to teach here. Snipe recognized the man for his contribution for the country and his heroics in America. His mere presence lowers crime rate of any city he is in. It's not like he didn't have his reasons to teach. The amount of time he has lost to use his quirk has made his job almost beyond manageable. Flashback 2 weeks before the exam. All the UA teachers waited for Nedzu to start the meeting. Sitting next to the hybrid animal was a stringy-looking man with blonde hair. Snipe spoke to Aizawa over what a waste of time this meeting was when they had a broccoli boy that would be needing them in a couple hours. May I have your attention? Nedzu smiled as he spoke, sending shivers down the spines of everyone there. First, I would like to make sure you are all ready for the practical exams. Looking over at Power Loader. I have everything set for the hero and support practical. There are random judges assigned to the support exam. For the hero exam, I have all the robots ready with fail-safes just in case we need to shut them down. Midnight tilted her head. Why aren't you judging with me this year, Higgy? Wait, did you and a certain someone adopt a baby that will be in the exam? Snipe was so grateful for his mask right about now. Aizawa was hiding his smile under his scarf as he chuckled at his friend's misfortune. No. I just can't play favoritism and I have people I have trained for the exams this year. Fine, I will take the replacements, but that isn't as hot. Nemuri leaned back into her chair almost in a pout. The support hero was glad she dropped it. He didn't want to explain to her that they had all spent the summer training a certain boy. The kid didn't need more pressure on his shoulders. Perfect. Now I would like to introduce you to your new coworker. I present All Might. As he finished talking, the skinny man stood up and waved at everyone. Shoyuta was not having it though. Is this some kind of joke? Snipe had to agree with his friend. In a way, this was All Might. The man suddenly buffed up. Everyone looked at him shocked and terrified for a moment. Until he suddenly was sent back to his skinny self. Looking at Aizawa, he saw the man had erased All Might's quirk. So your quirk is a transformation quirk. Good to know I can erase it. All Might huffed. My name is Tashironi Yagi. As you all may know, I am spending less and less time doing hero work. Pulling his shirt up, he showed everyone a massive scar. My time I can use my quirk day to day has drastically dropped. Nedzu offered me a teaching job to help give me an alibi for my time out of the spotlight. The rat took everyone's attention. As you are all aware, if it were known that the symbol of peace was injured like this, we could have serious issues with crime in this country. The best thing to do would be to help build a new generation to take on the void that will be left by All Might. Present day. Seeing the skinny man walk in with Principal Nedzu was still shocking. Hard to believe he was the symbol of peace when he looked so broken. A walking skeleton barely hanging on to life. The thought of a villain that was able to do something like that to him sent chills crawling down his skin. Hello, my very patient staff. Present Mike is about to give the go-ahead for the children to start. Looking up, all the screens turned on to reveal all 4 different cities. Each one had mobile camera drones following around each student so they could get a good idea for their future classes. Locating the camera that had its lens on Izuku, he couldn't help but smile under his mask. Seeing Aizawa was also hiding a grin let him know his friend sees him too. The boy had a bright smile and a look of pure confidence waiting for the gates to open. So while we wait, Ectoplasm and Midnight, did any children catch your eye? Nedzu was just as curious as Snipe and Aizawa about whether their kid made any impressions on them. Ectoplasm pulled out a test from his coat. Yes. One of the kids turned his test in. He easily passed the test in flying colors, but look at his last page. Handing the test to the principal, the Chimera looked it over really quick with stars in his eyes. What a fascinating analysis. I wonder if he can build these legs for you. That was how the 2 teachers knew it was Izuku. Only he could write a full analysis for extra credit as something fun to do. Midnight interrupted. There was a boy named Izuku Midoriya. His work was amazing, but the main thing was his inventions were practical for anyone to use. I wonder what he could do if he made something for a specific quirk. Not being able to hold it in any longer, Snipe chuckled. By chance is that the boy? Pointing him out of the screens. Simultaneously, the 2 heroes said yes. The aura changed as the eraser hero now was smiling a Cheshire grin. Just wait. Think that's all impressive. All Might looked at the boy who clearly had support equipment on him. Why is he allowed to bring a weapon with him? Aizawa, who was not in the mood for the blonde, responded. As long as it is built by the examinee or is required for their quirk, then they can bring support equipment. Yagi nodded and looked back at the screen. Something about the boy seemed familiar, but he couldn't place from where. The gates all opened, and everyone watched as the green-haired boy ran forward before it had fully opened. Seeing the other participants' baffled faces was priceless for both of his trainers. Mike reminded them that there were no-goes in heroics, and the rest followed suit. Seeing the kid move with his eyes scanning everything was amazing. Reacting to the first robots, they watched as he gagged the enemy, then systematically eradicated them. The mouth of all the heroes were dropped now. Nedzu chuckled with glee. Oh, I like him. He is taking in all the information with nothing but adrenaline and fascination. I can't wait to teach him. Though that comment sent chills down everyone's spine, they all focused on the task at hand. Watching over all the kids as best they could. Nedzu mentioned how much potential they had here this year. Some, like Izuku's friend Bakugo, was all about power. Aizawa was quite shocked seeing him wipe out machines like they were nothing. He couldn't help but feel proud that this boy looked out for Izuku when they were growing up and not his bully. Izuku may have been destroyed if he had been. Oh my god, the green one is about to jump. Midnight pulled everyone's attention back to Izuku. Seeing the boy jump off a 3-story building was heart-wrenching. The way he so smoothly executed his move set, though, was impressive. His skills with knives had always been impressive. Combining that with his gun made him an actual threat to villains. The best part was watching him check on the other boy. Seeing the flustered cheeks made Snipe laugh. He was never good at getting any sort of praise, but he deserved it. Giving a maniacal laugh, Nedzu spoke up again. "Look at that. We have a real hero. How exciting." Looking over at All Might. "Well, I think it's time to see if he keeps it up. Want to do the honor?" Gesturing to a giant button. Giving the principal a smile, he leaned forward and released the giant robots. Everyone watched as all the kids ran away from the machines. Except a blur of green caught their attention. Seeing Izuku move to a girl that was pinned under some debris. Snipe watched as the kid tried to move the pieces off her until he finally pulled out his pistol. Firing up at an angle quickly, he was able to eke in it without causing stress to the brunette. "Good one, kiddo." Aizawa nodded to nobody in particular in response to Snipe. Though seeing Izuku set the girl down and run up a building was concerning. He made the logical thought that he couldn't outrun the machine with her. Wondering what he was going to do though was killing him until he saw the boy launch himself onto the robot. What is the problem child doing? Eraser hadn't realized he had activated his quirk. Seeing the kid aim his gun down at the neck of the machine power loader, jumped up. He better not have that on full power. Everyone outside of the teachers looked at him curiously. Yagi looked at the support hero. "Why not? It's just a gun. It can't be that power." Dash, interrupted by an explosion on the screen. The shot had pushed through the neck into the power core in its chest, sending the greenette flying through the air. His mentors both jumped up ready to sprint in when Nedzu told them to wait. Snipe shook his head watching him smash into the roof of a nearby building. "DMN it, little critter." Aizawa's scarf was floating. "If he survives, I'm going to kill him myself." Everyone watched as the tension lifted. Seeing the kid stretch out his arms and make his way down to the girl again made all of them feel much better. Midnight shook her head. "Well, that kid is gonna be fun." "What was his score?" Pulling up his statistics, Nedza smiled. 63 combat points. Second best out of the children. With his rescue points, he easily got first in the practical. Ectoplasm finally left curiosity get the better of him. What's his quirk? Super intelligence or maybe analysis? The R-rated hero shook her head. No, has to be agility and perception. Pulling up his profile, everyone looked at the non-applicable in big red lettering. Mike, who had just walked in full of energy, froze. How is that possible? He is quirkless. Snipe nodded. Yup, the kid's smart and strong. Hiding in his capture weapon, Aizawa looked back at the screen with the smiling broccoli gushing about Recovery Girl. Snipe found this kid after a villain attack almost a year ago. He shows potential. More than I have seen in a long time. Even if he apparently is a reckless sheet at times. Jumping onto the table, Nedzu pulled another video of Bakugo and Izuku standing at the doorway talking. It would seem out top two are acquainted. This will be an interesting year that I have no doubt of. Waking up the next morning, Izuku could feel all the pain of his practical. Maybe I should have had Recovery Girl heal me anyways. Stretching, he made his way to the shower and got ready for the day. With no plans of training or going anywhere, some joggers and a new Snipe t-shirt was good enough. Grabbing the shirt from his closet, the boy looked down at the boxes full of All Might stuff inside. Maybe I should sell it all? I'll ask Kaken. He has been wondering why I pulled all this stuff down and he keeps bugging me about it. Seeing his mom already with breakfast on the table made him smile. They ate and talked together. He told her of everything from the events the previous day. Inko smiled and laughed along with her baby boy, tensing about him flying through the air after blowing up a massive robot on his own. She knew Izuku was as capable, if not more so than most, though she still didn't have to like it. While Izuku started cleaning the kitchen and the dining room, his mom answered a phone call. Not wanting to interrupt, Izuku focused on just the tasks in front of him, leaving his mom to her privacy. Hey Aizu, that was your sensei, Snipe. He wants you to get Katsuki and go to that warehouse he was training you in. Nodding, Izuku got changed into some cargo shorts and texted Kaken to meet him at the train station. It didn't take long for the green-haired boy to make it to the train station to see a blonde red-eyed boy leaning against a pole. DMN it, Deku. How did I beat you here? Giving the blonde boy a million-watt smile, Sorry Kaken. I kinda took my time walking here. I wonder what Snipe-sensei and Aizawa-sensei want to talk to us about? Maybe it's how we did. They had to have seen our results. I assume they can't tell what we did, but maybe they can let us know what we need to improve on? I would assume they might just want to help us work through some of our combat issues. Except they never have seen you fight outside of the villain attack and dash. Bakugo covered Izuku's mouth before he could keep talking. You minute nerd, you're going to scare the civilians. Suddenly the green boy became super aware of all the people staring at him. Looking back at Kaken, who had a devilish smirk on his face. Once the boys arrived at the warehouse, they walked into what seemed like an empty warehouse. Moving in, Izuku was excited to see both his teachers when he got chill up his spine. Pushing Bakugo out of the way and drawing a knife. Simultaneously, Yusuke attempted to escape the impending attack only to get wrapped up in Eraser's signature capture weapon. So, problem child, we are going to have a chat about your stunt at the hero practical. We wanted you to bring Bakugo so that way he can join in on the chat. Aizawa's quirk was active even if it had zero purpose with the quirkless boy. The anger coming off of Aizawa was impressive. Even Bakugo was frozen for a moment. Snipe started laughing when Izuku's head tilted at the notion that he had done something wrong. You know, I don't think the little one has any idea what he did wrong. Bakugo brushed the dust off his pants. Can anyone tell me what the F Aizu did to PSS off the hobo? Dropping Izuku, the long-haired man walked away and leaned against the wall. Izuku saved one of your future classmates by climbing one of the 0-pointers. The thing exploded and sent him flying through the air into a building. What the actual F, Deku? Why didn't I do that? You just had to one-up me. Bakugo just shook his head in disappointment to himself. Izuku though was waving his hands and shaking his head. No, I didn't mean T2. I just wanted to stop it. I didn't know it would blow up. While his eyes were closed, he felt a hand on his curls. Don't worry, kid. Looking into his sensei's eyes, he couldn't help but smile. You did good in the practical. We will need to work a bit on your self-preservation though. Aizawa looked over at the blonde. You Bakugo, you are skilled in combat, but we will need to work on your awareness for people in need during a crisis. Why the F do I need to do that? The explosion child started pouting. Izuku wrapped his arm around his friend. Kaken, we are going to be heroes. Saving people is the most important thing. Shrugging his arm off, he looked away from his brother Green Eyes. Whatever. So, senseis, I kinda designed you both something. I mean if you want it. Izuku was looking at his feet. Both his instructors walked up to him. Snipe knelt in front of him. Kid, we would love to see your designs. Giving off a blinding smile, Izuku pulled out his notebook out of seemingly nowhere. Something Aizawa was oddly similar to his boss and his DMN team cups. Flipping the pages, Izuku pulled 2 pages and handed one to each teacher. Snipe, I designed a revolver version of my Ultra Pistol. I know you don't always use your quirk due to how lethal it can be when you don't get to choose where the bullets hit. It comes with cartridges similar to my pistol. Only instead of a clip you spin the revolver for whichever type of effect you want. Pulling his mask off so Izuku could see his smile. Thanks kiddo. I love it. Nodding, Izuku looked at the eraser hero. I know you have your capture weapon. You also carry a knife just in case, but I thought about if you were in a bigger battle. The tonfa I designed is a bit different. The ends electrify depending on which end is forward. If you hit the switch in the handle though, it disconnects and turns into almost an electric chain you can use to capture enemies and stun them in the process. Aizawa chuckled. Well, this will be the first time I add something to my arsenal since I first became a hero. Really? So you like it? Izuku was bouncing on his feet in excitement. Yes, problem child. I do. Bakugo walked up to Izuku. If we are done here, can we get the F out of here and go to my place? Nodding, Izuku went and said goodbye to his teachers. Leaving the copies of designs with his teachers so they could get the new equipment built. Hopefully they could before school started. Over the next couple of days, Izuku, Mei, and Katsuki hung out as they waited for their acceptance letters. The longer it took, the more nervous the quirkless boy got. He couldn't help but think that the Nedzu may have changed his mind and decided allowing him in would be a mistake. Mei and Bakugo both told him that he was overreacting. Even his mom seemed to have noticed. Though not hearing from his sensei didn't help either. Deciding to distract himself, he went to the mall by himself to look for new posters to take the empty space on his wall. Walking into Hero Mania. Easily his favorite store. Going straight past the All Might walls, he found a treasure trove of different heroes. The first hero he bought was obviously the Western hero Snipe. The man was his favorite hero after all. He also found Power Loader bobbleheads, Kamui Woods action figures, some Midnight posters, and lastly a poster of Silent Shadow. This hero was still quite new. Izuku thought the hero had a lot of potential. He wasn't an underground hero, but he also wasn't a limelight hero. The hero was similar to Sir Night-Eye that way. His quirk on its own wasn't that powerful, but he utilized it in such an efficient way. Thinking about his weapon of choice still made him think that he needed a close-range weapon as well. More specialized weapon anyway. Sighing, he rolled it up and took it with him. Heading up to the checkout, he was stopped by running into another boy. The two-toned boy fell over from the sheer force. Izuku, also falling over, dropped his merchandise all over the floor around them. "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." Reaching out, he pulled the boy up. "I should have watched where I was dash." Izuku finally made eye contact with the boy. "He is so pretty." Shaking himself out of his daze, he looked at the boy and took in his appearance. His crimson and white hair down around his eyes almost framing his soft but strong-looking jaw. The scar, which looked like it had to have hurt, only added to this boy's beauty. It brought the blue and gray from his eyes out like nothing else. I didn't mean to run into you." Izuku stepped back and went to pick up his merchandise before he could embarrass himself any more than he already was. Only the boy helped him pick his things up instead of walking away. Standing up, he handed him some of the posters he had dropped. "Oh, thank you." "You're welcome." Izuku looked at the section he had ran into him at. Seeing it was the Endeavor section. He must be a fan of the number 2 hero? Maybe he had a fire quirk like him. That would explain the burn mark. You know, if you want an actual good fire hero to look up to, there are better ones than him. Mr. Two-Toned gave him a look that Izuku couldn't decipher. "Not that you can't be a fan of him or anything. I'm sorry, I'll just go." Izuku looked at his feet to hide his very warm cheeks. Though before he could walk away, the boy finally spoke. "You don't like Endeavor? Why?" Not seeing any malice in the boy's eyes, he saw Izuku decided it was okay to speak. "Well, he does have the most successful villain apprehensions. I feel that doesn't make up for the damage of property, collateral damage, or use of excessive force. He also has the most kills out of any hero in Japan, and I don't think all the villains and vigilantes deserved as a punishment. His quirk is called Hellfire. While that scares the enemies he faces, it also scares the civilians. Fire, though destructive and scary, is also used to build and forge. It can warm those left out in the cold and give them hope, you know." The last part seemed to change the expression of the boy for a second. He looked down at his hands before they were interrupted. "Come on, Shoto, let's go. I can't have father getting home without you there." Izuku watched the boy leave with his sister. He knew fear when he heard it. Then he thought about their conversation. Or more, his excuse to rant about a hero. "Oh no. I only got his first name. I didn't even ask about his quirk or listen to his opinion on the number 2 hero." After calming down, Izuku bought his stuff and made his way over to the food court to see Kaminari sitting at a table already. Looking around, he saw that he was alone, so he thought he might as well go say hi. Walking up to the lightning boy, "Hey Kaminari." Once he saw the green-haired boy, the boy gave a million-watt smile. "Oh Midoriya. What's up, man? I was wondering if I would ever see you or Uraraka again." Giving him a smile back, he took a seat across from him. "Oh, I bought some hero merch and got hungry after I embarrassed myself. I gotta say, though, I was hoping to see if you guys wanted to hang out sometime, so I'm glad I ran into you." "Embarrassing yourself? Ran into a girl you liked or something?" Izuku's face flushed immediately. "Yeah, or something." Kaminari chuckled at him and raised his arms. "I get it, we aren't on that level yet. You a huge hero fan then?" Izuku nodded and pulled up his bags and let the blonde look through them. The two boys started talking about different heroes, favorite foods, and all the things they did for fun. Izuku found out that Kaminari worked with his family at a restaurant, and he seemed to love jokes and comedies. So, I know you're. Kaminari leaned in a little closer and whispered, Quirkless. An awkward silence went between the two boys. So, was growing up bad? Looking into the boy's yellow eyes. Seeing genuine concern, Izuku nodded. Letting out a sigh, yeah, a lot of people thought I was useless. My teachers never helped either. They always set me up and would try to do anything to make sure I was left alone with my bullies. Shaking his head, Izuku could see tears in the boy's eyes. I had a cousin that was quirkless. She was so strong. Or we thought she was. Nobody even realized she didn't have any friends until Kaminari froze for a second. Sorry, I didn't mean to get so real so soon. It's just you were totally badass. I wish I was half as strong as you. Even though the boy had gone back to his loud self, at the end Izuku was stuck on one thing. He had a cousin. Not that he didn't know the statistics. Hell, he was almost a statistic. That day, if it hadn't been for Kakin and his mother, he would have jumped. The truth of the matter left guilt in the pit of his stomach. He may not have done it, but he wanted to. He still felt worthless at times and had to remind himself of the people he now had in his life. Shaking the thoughts away, he smiled at the electric boy. Yeah, my friend Kakin was always there for me. He wouldn't let me live it down if we didn't become heroes together. Then I met some people that were willing to help me, and here I am. Still so patiently waiting for my letter. Kaminari chuckled at his new friend. After a little while longer, the two boys bid a farewell. Izuku decided to take shortcut home. You would think he would have learned from being attacked by a villain and all. Turning down a side street, he just happened to run into the three people he didn't want to run into. Oh, hey look, it's Mr. Quirkless himself. Turning to see Wings, Fingers and Electro. Chuckling to himself, he couldn't help but think they looked like really bad comic book bullies. I don't have time for this guy. We don't have to fight. Izuku put his stuff down and squared up. He knew talking the JRKS down was useless. They hated him with every fiber of their beings. Before he could continue to talk them out of fighting, Electro made his move. The boy with short black hair and hazel eyes had a 5-point touch quirk. He could send electrical currents through his fingers as long as they touched the object in question together. Izuku spun around and elbowed him in the back of the head, making him tumble over. Throwing his foot up, he blocked a flying enhanced kick from Wings. As soon as his foot landed, he blocked Fingers' fist. Moving in close, he sent an elbow to the boy's chin, sending him falling backwards. Knowing Wings was going to attack high from behind, he spun again, barely dodging the kick. Grabbing the boy by the wings, he put his knee in the chubby boy's back and taking him to the ground. Pulling his pistol out, he fired a sonic round into the sky while still on top of Wings. So, first you attack me and then use your quirks illegally. Electro, who was standing, was shaking in his boots literally. Fingers was still laying on the ground in shock. Wings was frozen underneath him. As satisfying as this is for Izuku, he knew he wanted to be a hero. Stepping off of his bully, he held out his hand. I don't want you guys to go to jail for doing stuff like that. Tsubasa took his hand. As they made eye contact for a moment, the boys turned and ran. Izuku sighed. Well, I tried. Picking his stuff back up, he made his way home. His mom was still working, so he went and started redecorating his room. Snipe's poster was across from his bed, so he knew he would feel motivated every morning. He was the best hero after all, no matter the rankings were. After a while, Izuku ended up falling asleep leaning on his desk. He had been inspired by Electro. Having gloves that could electrocute or stun an enemy would be super useful for a hero. After getting the initial drawing done on how he would want them to look, he passed out while writing down theories and who it would benefit most. Waking up the next morning with a blanket over his shoulder. Looking around in confusion, then remembering he had been working on designs for his latest invention. I didn't realize I was so tired. Looking at his phone, he had slept till noon and had a dozen of texts from his friends. Uraraka, hey, I got my acceptance letter. Can you believe it? Did you get in? Hello. Oh my god. You better answer me. Kami, dude, I got accepted. Did you get in? Minute Mido. The suspense is killing M. Kakin, nerd, I got my letter. You get yours too? Fine, answered me. I swear to God, Deku, if you are sleeping, I will kill you. Fine, we are coming over there yesterday. May, hey Greenie, I got my letter. I can't wait till we can make so many babies together in UA. Just imagine all the things we can build for all those hero students. With your analysis and first-hand knowledge of their quirks, we will be unstoppable. Izuku, you need to come out here right now. Jumping up, Izuku ran out into the living room to see his letter sitting on the table. I know you were asleep, but the Bakugos are about here, and I thought you might want to open it when they get here. Looking at his mother, he could tell she was just as excited and nervous as he was. Sitting down, he grabbed it and couldn't help but stare. Losing track of reality while he held the letter as if it were a lifeline, he hadn't even noticed the Bakugos walk in. Katsuki walked over and punched his friend in the head. Damn it. You could have texted me back instead of looking at the thing as if it were a bomb, you asshat. Rubbing his head, he looked at his friend. Sorry, Kaken. I was sleeping and lost track of time this morning. Mitsuki walked up and smacked her kid in the head. Is that the was to get his attention, you effing brat? Izuku chuckled as they started arguing at each other. While they all settle around the table, Inko brought out snacks to tide everyone over for lunch. Sitting there, they both held their letters. Looking down at his lap, hey Kaken, can you open yours first? Bakugo looked at his green-haired friend and saw the fear in his eyes. Yeah, nerd, I can. Pulling open the letter, a small disc fell out in front of the blonde. Turning on, an image of All Might opened up. Hello, young Katsuki Bakugo. I am here as a hologram. Looking at Izuku, he saw the shock and then some other emotion he couldn't quite place. Young Bakugo, you passed the written exam with the third highest score of all the applicants in all courses. Now where you were most impressive was the hero practical. You showed incredible skill and strength. Your control over your quirk is incredible and far above most kids your age. You were able to take the second place spot with combat points alone. With a score of 77, I would like to welcome you, young Bakugo, to your My Hero Academia. The video ended with everyone looked at the disc like it was magic. His parents looked at each other as if they waited for the explosion. Only it never came. Instead, he smiled and looked at Izuku. Well, nerd, you're up. Open the FA thing. Nodding, Izuku opened his letter. The disc fell out of the envelope in front of him. Turning on, expecting to see All Might. Instead, Snipe appeared on the screen. Hello, youngin. Izuku looked wide-eyed at the image in front of him. Snipe. That's right, kid. It's the best shooter in Japan. Don't ask any questions like I know you will. This is a recording. Now let's talk about your test, shall we? On your written, you got the second highest score out of all applicants, right behind Little Miss Hatsum. Izuku and Bakugo both chuckled at that, leaving all their parents confused. That put your score as the third highest in UA history, kid. Only her and Nedzu scoring higher than you. Speaking of your intelligence, let's move to your support practical. You completely wowed the judges. Your ingenuity and creativity showed that you were not only smart but thought outside the box for yourself. You scored again, right behind May Hatsum. Smiling, he looked at his mom, who was crying waterfalls of happy tears. Izuku wasn't doing much better than she was. The curse of the Midoriyas. Izuku. That brought him back into his sensei, now where you truly shined. You were incredible. I saw who I believe to be my best apprentice I've ever had show his true grit. Videos of him taking down robots left and right appeared in place of Snipe. You scored 63 combat points, making you pass just off that score alone, but that's not all. Looking around Izuku at Bakugo, he saw that his friend was just as confused as he had been. You prioritized saving people over taking down the enemies. Next thing he saw was him jumping in front of Kami and digging Uraraka out of rubble. You showed what it truly means to be a hero, kid. You got another 83 rescue points on top of your hero points, putting you at 146 points overall, making you the top earner. Welcome to your Hero Academia. I couldn't be prouder, Izuku. Now nothing stopped the tears as they flew out of the boy's eyes like a waterfall. Looking at his friend, that's why you were so calm, Kaken? It's because you somehow knew. Wiping his eyes, he looked at his blonde brother. No, nerd. I didn't know. But if anyone could beat me in the practical, it was you. None of those other extras had what it takes. We are going to be the best heroes, Deku. Smiling, he nodded at his friend. Quickly he pulled his phone up and texted his other friends and let them know he passed too. On all the tests. Wanting to celebrate, he decided to see if his mom was okay if they all came over to celebrate. His mom was so excited he had friends other than just Katsuki that she readily agreed. After a couple of hours, all his friends were at his house for pizza. They were all talking except for Bakugo, who was trying not to look too annoyed. He wouldn't leave because his friend would be upset, and so he stayed. So Midoriya, did you get all your new stuff hung up? Kaminari's question got everybody's attention. Uraraka looked at the lightning boy and then the green-haired one. Wait, how come you get to hang out with Midoriya, and I don't? Kami smiled and just shrugged. I don't know, but I'd hang out with either of you any day. Both Uraraka and Izuku changed to a bright pink. I can show you. Everyone followed him to his room to see essentially a shrine to heroes. All over were posters and trinkets of different heroes. May smiled. Love the new digs, Greenie. I wonder if any of these pros would let us make gear for them too. Uraraka looked at her in confusion and then back at Midoriya. Hey Midoriya, why are you going into support? I thought you got into the hero program? Before Izuku could respond, Kaken interrupted. He is going to be a hybrid hero. Support and hero, that way he can save you in other ways, their pink cheeks. Oh, that's so cool. How is that going to work through with your schedule? Izuku looked at his friends. Oh well, I'm going to test out of English, literature, and all of the math course that they offer. That way I should be able to get lab time in. Though I am sure Nedzu will have a better idea when I get in. Sitting down on his bed, everyone gathered around him. Uraraka and Bakugo were on the floor and Kaminari was sitting at his desk. So Mido, you going to tell us why you were so embarrassed while you were shopping? Suddenly Izuku could feel his whole body heat up. I don't dash. Getting annoyed of his nervous stuttering, Bakugo threw a pillow at him to reset him. And it nerd. Stop stuttering and tell us what happened. Lowering his voice, I was buying some stuff for my room and ran into a boy that was there. Bakugo grinned and then started laughing. Really? Goddamn Deku. Awestruck by some boy. Kami looked at him. What, Mido, you're into guys? Izuku sighed and nodded. Yeah, I am, but that wasn't just it. He was different. Outside of you guys, nobody ever listens to what I say, you know. Uraraka jumped into, so did you get his name? What about his favorite hero? Anything? Shaking his head, I only know his first name is Shoto. His sister called it out. Kami and Uraraka kept gushing over Izuku's mysterious crush. The rest of the night was one of Izuku's best days of his life. He never thought he would have so many friends. Izuku spent the next couple of days relaxing. He hadn't been too sure if he was excited, nervous, or all the above for school. Luckily, he still had a few days till he was in front of all new students. He just prayed that they were different from the JRKS in his old school. Though having friends was going to make this a lot different than middle school. Smiling at the thought of his new friends, he couldn't help but feel giddy. I wonder if he will be there too? An image of the boy he had ran into shopping popped into his head again. The boy had seemed nice enough to him. Something seemed off about him. There was some sort of pain in his eyes. Something that Izuku knew well enough. Hope of seeing the boy again filled inside Izuku's chest. Sighing, he forced the thought out of his mind and made his way to his desk. Pulling up his email, he saw that Nedzu had sent him something in his inbox. Opening it up, he couldn't help but feel shocked and excited. The Chimera had already given him his first assignment. Hello Izuku Midoriya. I am so excited to see you in our hallowed halls. Now as to why I am reaching out to you is for your first assignment. In the attachment below I have the videos to our recommended hero practical. I would like you to analyze each contestant. I want everything from theories to possible equipment. You will bring me your results at the end of your first day. Mr. Aizawa already knows about the assignment, so he will send you directly to me after class. Principal Nedzu. Smiling, Izuku immediately opened the attachment. Seeing all the students take their places. One boy got his attention first. He saw the two-toned boy Shoto. Seeing him makes Izuku's heart start beating rapidly again. Was he really this pathetic? The boy wasn't even in person, and here he was like a little middle schooler panicking. though seeing the boy's quirk was going to make up for the nerves. Shaking himself, he took control of his emotions again and watched one of the trials through first to understand what he was watching. Seeing that it was an obstacle course split into groups of 3. There is no way they were just looking at speed or who was winning. That may have been part of it, but his guess is that they are looking at control, versatility, and strength. It was in groups of 3. 7 groups made up the test. First group had the glasses guy who yelled at him during the practical. Looking closer, he saw that there was engines on his legs. Izuku knew this would be fun. After watching the races, he had broken them up into different categories. Tier 1-3 ranged their respective skills, control, and strength. Bottom tier being the ones he believed would have done better in the regular practical, Tier 2 could go either way, and Tier 3 were the ones that you could tell had been training their skills for years. First was a boy whose quirk seemed to be some kind of wind quirk. Great for sheer power, he moved over obstacles as if they were nothing. He showed great control in his high-level attacks and movement. With his quirk, he could be a great rescue or combat hero. Izuku believed he needed to learn how to control his wind or whirlwinds in a shorter and smaller scales. Going all out was good, but his power could be much more controllable if he could move it in a smaller scale. For equipment, Izuku would recommend some kind of gloves that could shoot high-pressured air at a target. Also some kind of wings to help him move with ease, that would help with his stamina overall. Drawing up a few designs for both. Even if isn't in UA, he would like to be able to help him. Next was the glasses guy. He definitely had engines on his legs. Super speed and powerful kicks gave him great offensive abilities. Though he struggled with his maneuverability. Izuku thinks that he needs to either get parkour or gymnastic skills. He was powerful but seemed rather predictable. For his gear, he needed some kind of wheels. That would give him an even bigger speed boost. He would also recommend some kind of weapon, so he doesn't have to rely on his legs so often. When comes to quirks that are fascinating and Izuku would love to have, nothing can take the place of this girl that can create anything. From what the green boy could tell was she create any inanimate object. Though there were several questions he had. Could she create any gases? Maybe fire or water? Theoretically, she should be able to make anything including lightning or oxygen. He was guessing she used her body's stored fat as energy to make things. Izuku would recommend having a weapon on her just in case. Also, some sort of freehand computer to give her ideas or information. If she makes it in, maybe he could see her quirk in person. After getting through the rest of the contestants, he finally got to Shoto. Saving him for last on purpose, he went over the kid's feats. The boy had some sort of ice quirk. That didn't seem right though watching him. In one portion he had froze small hand slots to climb a wall. Only to melt them so nobody else could use them. So a dual quirk. Ice came out of his left side as he moved through the course. The amount of power the kid had was amazing. After coming to conclusion that he had ice on his left. That meant that he had heat on his left. Maybe even fire? Something didn't seem right though. If he had fire and ice, why does he only use the one side? Izuku suggests that he needs to master both sides. Also focus on close-range combat. 4 gear, a staff of Quirkless sticks that can focus his powers. Also a suit that can help regulate his body temperature, especially if he isn't going to use his full power. After feeling satisfied with his results, he got ready for what was left of his day. Spending the time with his mom. They watched Hero News and relaxed for the day. Inko just looking fondly at her son. Trying to remember a time when he seemed so happy and full of life. Her and Katsuki would only be able to get him so far. At some point he was going to need a win. Something that would push him forward. Thankfully that is exactly what he got. A few days later Izuku made his way to his first day of class. Walking up to the large building he couldn't help but look up in awe. Even though he had been here several times before with Snipe and Eraser, it just felt different finally making into the school as a student. As he made his way into the building looking for Class 1A, he realized one important thing. He had no idea where his class was. Running around the building for what felt like an hour, he finally made it to his class right before the bell rang. Letting out a sigh of relief, he heard a familiar voice. "What, you went to some preppy but private school and think you're better than me or something? That is not what I am saying." It is just unbecoming of a hero student in such a prestigious program to be such a ragamuffin. The boy with glasses turned to see Izuku. Walking over to him he bowed. Hello, I am Tenya Ida and I must apologize. I must apologize for my behavior during the exams. You were obviously skilled enough to make it in and I am sorry. Izuku flustered. Oh, it's okay. I am Izuku Midoriya, nice to meet you. Bowing back, he made his way over to Bakugo. Hey Kaken. Look, we are in the same class. Smiling at his friend, he couldn't help but feel excited. Hey, don't forget about me, Mido. Kami wrapped his arm around Izuku's neck and grinned. Oh, and is that by chance Mr. Crush over there? Looking over to where he was pointing, he saw Shoto staring at him. Oh no. Izuku dived down into his desk and looked forward. Bakugo leaned back and looked at his friend. Well, that answers Pikachu's question, nerd. Laughing, he turned back around to observe everyone coming through the door. Midoriya. The bright and spunky brunette ran up to him and wrapped him in a hug. Uraraka. You're in our class too. The only one we are missing is Mei. Right, but you will get to see her a ton in support anyways, you JRK. Izuku couldn't help but chuckle at his friend. They chatted for a while they waited. Izuku took the time to get a sense of the class. The boy with 6 arms he saw in the practical exam was in their class. With so many students, he was overwhelmed with wanting to see their quirks. Mido, you seem distracted, what's going on? Kami tilted his head at Izuku and smiled. Sorry, I was just thinking about seeing everyone's dash. Feeling eyes on him, he put his hand on his pistol instinctively. Looking towards the door, he saw Eraserhead looking in the room in his yellow sleeping bag. If you're here to make friends, then you are in the wrong room. Everyone turned to face the voice that was talking to them. Hagakure yelled, "Oh my god. What is that?" Aizawa let out a sigh. I'm your homeroom teacher, Shoyuta Aizawa. Please put these on and make your way outside. The man dropped the uniforms and headed out without a word. Izuku and Bakugo were the first up and making their way to the locker rooms. After hurrying, just knowing that Aizawa was impatient, they met the man out in the training field. Aizawa hid his smile under his scarf, seeing Izuku out first. After everyone showed up, Aizawa continued, 20 minutes. You are all wasting time. If that is your goal, then the hero course isn't for you. Putting his hands in his pocket, he turned to face them all. I will have you doing a quirk apprehension test. The world still acts like it did before quirks. It's irrational. You Katsuki Bakugo, you were runner-up in the entrance exam. Aizawa threw a ball to him. What was your furthest throw? Kaken looked at the ball and walked forward, 67 meters I think. Eraser nodded. Good, now use your quirk. Anything goes as long as you are in that circle. The explosive boy gave a devilish grin. Stand back then. Taking a stance, he reached back and let go. Die. The explosion was massive. Izuku felt pride for his friend as he scored a 702 meters. Izuku knew he couldn't replicate that even if he wanted to. They went test by test, and for the most part Izuku felt really good. I was in the top 10 for pretty much everything. Most of the other weren't that remarkable either. Izuku gushed over how they used their quirks. The sheer strength of Shoji, who scored a 540 kilos of force on the hand grip test, while the curly-haired boy got 70.6 kilos. Ida's speed, which got him a score of 3.04 in the 50-meter dash. Izuku himself getting a 6. Something he never thought he would be able to accomplish. Finally, it was his turn for the ball throw. Though it was tough to follow Uraraka, who had just gotten an infinity. Holding the ball in his hand, he had an idea but wasn't sure if he were allowed. Hey Aizawa-sensei. I can do anything as long as it's in the circle, correct? The hobo nodded to him as his only response. Grinning, he threw the ball into the air. Quick drawing his pistol, he fired 2 shots on it, sending it flying through the air. Watching it fly was definitely satisfying. 672 meters. The entire class but his 3 friends erupted in chaos. Everyone asking about the gun. Though one voice got Izuku's attention faster than anyone else's. Mineta screamed above everyone else's. Sensei, that isn't fair. He got to use a gun while we all had to use our quirks. Why is he so special? To say he felt the killer intent their sensei was giving off was an understatement. It shook the entire atmosphere around 1A. Fair. Do you think life is fair? Any of you? Villain attacks, natural disasters, cancer patients. Nothing in life is fair. As heroes, it's our job to level the playing field. If anything, Midoriya is a step ahead of all of you. Kirishima tilted his head. What do you mean by level the playing field? Midoriya could have used his quirk like the rest of us. That got a few confirmations from the class. Shoto Todoroki was quietly staring at him. I know his last name. Ida and Yaoyorozu were also quiet, not wanting to be pushy like the rest of the class. Enough. Everyone quieted down immediately. If he wishes to tell, he can. Now his teacher was staring at him. Giving the man a nod, he clenched his fist and stared down his peers. I didn't use a quirk because I don't have one. I'm Quirkless, the pistol I invented and have a license to carry and use. I am also a support student, allowing me to utilize anything as long as I have designed it. There was silence for a moment, then each person decided to give their own opinions on the matter. Kirishima and Ishido thought he was super cool for making it in. Several others just gave their concerns about his weakness. Sato, Shiro, Hagakure, and Mineta all openly said they didn't think he should be a hero. Without your equipment, you are completely defenseless. Bakugo was letting off small explosions with his hands, while Kaminari and Uraraka were internally raging. Before the explosive team could reach the other kids, though, Izuku held out his hand. Fine. You don't think I can be a hero? How about I fight either of you? If you can beat me in combat without my weapons, then I will drop out. Aizawa was trying to hide his grin. I'll allow it. Ida looked absolutely appalled. Sensei, this is highly inappropriate behavior. I think there are better ways to have them dash. Aizawa flared his quirk at the boy. No. They think that just because he doesn't have a quirk that he is weak. I will gladly see them try to stand in the ring with him. Turning to face the green boy. Bakugo, take his pistol. He trusts you to not break the thing. Izuku, give me your knives. All of them, problem child. Handing his pistol to Kaken, he started pulling out his knives. 20 knives were wrapped into his sensei's capture weapon. This is a little overkill, don't you think? Izuku just chuckled at him. It was you and Snipe that trained me to be ready for anything at any time. That comment got Todoroki's attention. Looking at the green boy, he had to wonder if he was the son of some hero. That would definitely explain how he got into the hero course. Okay, who is first? Izuku walked into the circle. Sato walked in to match him. I won't use my quirk for this to keep it fair. Looking at the muscular boy, his fire in his eyes, Izuku could barely contain his rage. No. I want you to use your quirk. The boy chuckled and downed 2 sugar packets. Fine, I am going to say sorry ahead of time. Before he could move, Izuku slowed his breathing down. Okay, from what I saw, he intakes sugar and it turns into strength. My guess it has a time limit with how much he had just taken in? Also, it seems he has no actual martial arts experience. I will have to use speed and agility to take him down. The sugar boy charged at him full speed, sending a punch only for it to hit nothing but air. Izuku spun, sending a kick to the boy's abdomen, knocking the wind out of him and forcing him to lose balance. Trying to upright, Sato punched again. Izuku ducked, punching the inside of his thigh. Taking the boy's paws, he spun, tripping him in the process. Sugar Boy tried to get up before Izuku could attack again, only for Izuku to land a kick to the side of his head, knocking him out. Rolling him over, he made sure he was okay before Kirishima came to help him out of the ring. Kaminari wrapped his arm round Uraraka and cheered, "Did you see that? He was so fast." Uraraka was no different. "That was so amazing. You showed them." Shiro walked into the ring following Sato's lead. "Okay, you got pretty lucky." Izuku dropped into a fighting stance. Tape. He is a long-range fighter. His first strategy will be to ensnare me. Getting in close will be my best chance. He doesn't have a lot of physical strength, so move in quick and hit hard. As soon as the fight started, Izuku took the offensive. Shiro attempted to trap him in his tape. Izuku ducked and dodged the boy's tape. Grabbing Shiro's wrist, he pulled him down to his level, giving him a kick to his shin, forcing him onto one knee. Shiro used his other arm to shoot tape. The only problem was with the way Izuku had his wrist, he didn't have any control. He was now planted on the ground with Izuku's knee in his back. Confused on how it happened, he tapped out. Walking away, he just had his head down so nobody could see his embarrassment. Snipe, who had been watching not too far away, just chuckled to himself as nobody else wanted to face his student. Aizawa walked up after nobody challenged again. But, Izuku, what did they do wrong in fighting you? Something that hit Todoroki, Yaoyorozu, and Ida all didn't miss the use of first name for the curly-haired boy. Looking over to see Sato was up and moving again. Well, first Sato. You have an amazing quirk. I have to say though, you cannot rely solely on just your strength. I would suggest learning some kind of martial arts. Either Muay Thai and boxing. Those should give you a decent range and complement your power. I assume you have a limit or sugar crash. If so, then you should get some kind of weapon so that way you can fall back on your quirk after. Being too reliant on a time limit quirk could be fatal. Sato looked baffled. Yeah, I do have a sugar crash. It makes me useless in a fight. I always thought that my strength would be enough. The boy looked down at the ground ashamed. Well, I can help you train. I only know the basics of both, but I can get you started at least. Seeing the green boy smile made him feel a lot better. Thank you, Midoriya. I'm sorry. Izuku accepted the apology and moved on to Shiro. Now for you, you rely way too much on your quirk. If I had been a stationary opponent, you would have won. I think you should work on gymnastics and situational awareness. That would help protect you from close-range fighters and keep you at a distance. Shiro bowed immediately after realizing how out of his depth he had been. I'm sorry. You're the first quirkless person I have ever met, and I made assumptions. Izuku chuckled. As long as you remember that I am not weak, then apology accepted. Aizawa was now really tired of this class. All right, that's enough of this. Mineta, you were last in the exam, so you are removed from heroics. I will have you transferred to Gen Ed. Tomorrow. Midoriya, the rat wants to see you after you get changed. Smiling, Izuku agreed to head there right away. Walking off, he hadn't even noticed both All Might and Snipe watching the whole ordeal. Snipe watched his little protege enter the school and couldn't help but smile. How much did you watch? Turning to face Aizawa, he chuckled. The whole thing. You think I'd miss the gremlins show up, all them brats? Aizawa sighed and looked back at the field. Even without the fights, he was in 5th overall. Right behind Bakugo. Those two will be powerhouses with the right push. Ain't that the truth? Snipe leaned back against the wall. He will face more discrimination before his time with UA ends though. We need to be there to help the kid with it. The Erasure hero nodded in agreement. I'll get with Nedzu. See if he can come up with a special project to help and maybe some counseling.